pipe cleaners, and then I've thrown them around occasionally. Okay.
I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of July 10th, 2023. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Public access to the meeting is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. Meetings are broadcast on Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Luqman Hiromasa.
Here.
Councilmember Long.
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo.
Here.
Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Okay, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager Guyer, are there any responses to resident inquiries?
One item this evening for the public's benefit as well as that of you and council. Mayor, last week on the 4th of July, we had significant flooding that impacted several homes over in Ward 1, just south of 112th. So I sent council an email earlier today, just want to provide this update publicly. To date, staff has gone out several times. I met with multiple property owners last Wednesday, walked the homes, their yards, listened to their concerns and impact of the heavy rain that we received on the 4th of July night. We've had a water restoration contractor go out to homes on Thursday, as well as a landscape contractor. I'm in communication with the city's insurance provider, and we have a meeting tomorrow, as well as inspections that'll need to be done on Wednesday. The city will also need to move forward with hiring a consulting engineer to look at the big picture question about whether or not there's any issues with the roadway design. Many of you heard from residents that they did not experience this type of issue until the city had made our roadway improvements several years ago. So we're taking this day by day, but doing as much as we can to be responsive and work with our property owners and ensure that we get the situation rectified. So it's going to take some time. I think in total there are about 8 properties impacted, 2 less than, I would say, 5 properties were most impacted, 2 specifically that had flooding in their basements. So varying degrees of impact based on the other homes involved. So we're doing everything possible. It's going to take some time. I did schedule an executive session for legal advice for council to be briefed and updated further based on the work that staff does this week, next Monday. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? No? Okay. Moving into presentations. This is one of our favorite parts of the summer. So we have June Neighborhood Beautification Awards. So council, we're going to come down front and we're going to hand it over to Jenny Murphy, our Community Outreach Coordinator, to present the awards.
Jenny, do you want the mic? Do you want the mic, Jenny?
Oh, yes. In there.
There you go.
Go. Thanks. For those of you that don't know, I hurt my back really bad, so I get a seat of honor sometimes. Just a seat.
cushion, a special treatment. Meredith, not Meredith. Catherine just has to put up with my head getting.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you all for being here this evening to recognize our great neighbors that are doing such a great job with their yards and their homes. So here, let's get started with, this is our 25th year for the Neighborhood Beautification Program. We have North Glen divided into 13 areas, and those 13 areas each have a volunteer judge. And those judges go out in the months of May, June, and July, and then finish up in August. And they choose beautiful yards and homes throughout North Glen. There's so many everywhere. There's many on every street. And the rain, as I spoke to many of you, certainly made all of our yards look better than they normally do, right? So in June and July and August, we do choose Yard of the Month winners. We do have judges that also select water-wise yards, which are yards that are utilizing more landscaping, less turf. It doesn't mean that it's all rock, but there's beautiful perennials that are more water tolerant, and so we do add the water-wise yard also. And so today we are honoring 13 Yard of the Month homes and 2 water-wise homes. I have sent a letter invitation to everyone. Our judges invited all of the families. Summer is busy, so many of you are here. Many of them aren't here tonight, but we're celebrating June winners tonight. And so I'm going to get started and show you these gorgeous homes, okay? Sure I am. Here we go. There's the first one. Lorraine Hall, who lives at 3021 East 108th Drive. Let's give her a hand. I think my Energizer Bunny battery is a little low. Think positive. More positive.
Jenny's the only one that convinces me.
More positive. Okay.
Does she want me to?
Joanna will
Will
do it.
thank you, Joanna. You're so kind to me.
To go get the sign-in sheet in a minute.
So, all right, our next home is Andy Dorr and Rick Pepin. They're here this evening, and they have a beautiful home and yard at 10908 Columbine Street. Please come on up.
So we moved in just about a year ago, and the yard was completely bare when we moved in, so it took like 3 seedings and 3 fertilizings and all the rain we've had to do this, and then all the plantings at the front are all perennial. Don't use a whole lot of other things, but yeah, just been we both retired, so it's just a great hobby for both of us. Sure.
I won't use whoever is to send
Yeah,
this.
that was-
They have to hold me.
You can hang on.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Again. All right, and all the Yard of the Month people, please stay so we can do a group picture at the end. Thanks.
Okay, next we have Brad Hepler and Nicole Taylor. They live at 11764 Claude Court. I got the honor of visiting with them, and Brad is actually a nephew of a former council member. And so he just wanted to show his beautiful yard. He's got all kinds of perennials, and he was not able to be here this evening, so let's give him a hand. Next, we have Marie and Todd Tom Cardenas, and they live at 2140 Phillips Drive. Let's give them a hand. Look how green everything is. That's just like Ireland right there. Next, we have Frankie and Lisa Dean. They live at 11355 Downing Drive. Thank you. And next, we have Luis Nava and Manuela Venezuela at 10861 Mildred Drive. And I believe you're here, right? Come on up.
Oh, well. Well, I say, I brought my wife, because she likes the plants, a lot of flowers, everything. Because they kind of be. Every time it's working together.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's the rule. Jesus, stand there and give me.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. Stay on
Oh, what's extra amazing about that yard is, you have, how many children do you have?
Only one.
Only one. It seemed like a lot more that the day that I drove by. Maybe it was the neighbor kids, but they were all having so much fun. Next, we have Scott and April Ellis, and they live at 10438 Pearl Way. This is an example of a real beautiful water-wise yard. Let's give them a hand. And Tony Ray and Glenn Irvin live at 10449 Pearl Way, another really beautiful home. Yes. Oh, you're here. Come on in. Come on in.
Fine, I packed it, I thought
How many years?
19.
Beautiful, every time I see it. I just love it.
Then we give our 19-year-old son to try to get him out there to mow it. Knock you down.
I just bounced back out.
I haven't been to anybody in a long time.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Again. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Well,
Next, we have Tilly and Mike Cummings at 10996 Pearl Street. Are they here this evening? Okay, give them a hand. Leo and Mary Weens live at 115 Linda Sue Lane, another beautiful home.
Wow, what's your favorite part? The flowers. There you go. There you go. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Again. 3. Last one. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Don and Sonia Munson, and they live at 11128 Melody Drive. They're not here this evening, but they just did that project themselves this spring, and it's really, really beautiful. They did a good job. And next we have Mary and Sid Hollander at 11052 Clare Circle. Again, another yard in Ireland, right? So pretty. Mike and Celeste Candelaria live at 981 Kennedy Drive, and this is probably one of our top candidates for the water-wise yard. It's certainly not carefree, but it's really, really beautiful and saves a lot of water. So good job. And we have Tom and Tammy LaRouche, and they live at 10778 Varice Lane, and I believe they're here to come on down.
Oh, just a few months. We were going for a more simpler look, something that is less water and less work. We did. I know, I chase them off there every morning. And the geese too.
All right. 1, 2, 3, and. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Chang and Mai Yang at 9764 Fred Drive. Look how beautiful this yard is. Come on down.
How many more Yeah. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And wait.
Congratulations to the June winners. Yes.
Good job, Jenny. What?
Okay, fill in where you can fill in along the back and the sides. I'll stand back as far as I can. You can have most of the certificate on the front there. Good deal. There's space here. You want to go on that? Well, you can. He's gonna stand next to you. Perfect. Did Jenny get in?
I'm gonna jump.
1, 2, 3. Last one, thanks everybody. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Karen.
We might. I can take it out. Okay.
It's your last.
No. Joanna thinks she has batteries. Might use.
Well, that was fun. I look forward to that every summer. Now I just need to go home and do some yard work.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Moving into public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Joanna, is anyone signed up to speak to council?
Yes, we have several folks on the list. So the first person is Christina Semino. Semino. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Excellent. State your name and address and provide your comments to council.
All right, I am Christina Semino. My address is 1582 Truda Drive. That's here in North Glen, of course. Madam Mayor, City Council members, I stand before you with my wife Jacqueline, members of the North Glen Dice Board, community members, and allies in direct response to the actions of Councilman Long and Walker during my acceptance of the Pride Proclamation on June 5th, 2023. I am absolutely disgusted by the actions of Councilman Long and Walker. It saddens me greatly that their actions sent a negative message not only to those in the LGBTQIA+ community, but our youth. The city of North Glen is supposed to stand for inclusivity and acceptance of all, and yet Councilman Long and Walker chose to do otherwise. The message sent to those in our community was a lack of acceptance, further hate, discrimination, and bigotry. When I accepted this proclamation, I could not stop smiling about the feeling of acceptance and understanding that this gave to the community that is under constant attack. I realize that not everyone here is familiar with the treatment of those who identify with the LGBTQIA+ community and how it affects us. Let me hit you with a jaw-dropping statistic. From the Trevor Project's 2022 National Survey on LGBTQIA+ mental health, this survey showed that 45% of youth ages 13 to 24 seriously considered suicide in the past year alone. Of that group, 45% of 45% of LGBTQIA+ youth ages 13 to 24 seriously includes over half the transgendered and non-binary youth. Similar findings were confirmed by the CDC and the National Institute of Mental Health. Statistics like this are one of the reasons the actions exhibited by Councilman Long and Walker are so negatively impactful. Growing up, I was not allowed to be who I wanted to be, wear what I wanted to wear, love who I wanted to love. Growing up, I was forced to look like Cinderella when all I wanted to be was Prince Charming. I fought a constant battle to figure out how to be who my family expected me to be. In doing so, my mental health continued to disintegrate, along with my self-esteem, my self-worth. As a child, I was convinced something was wrong with me because I wasn't like the other girls my age. My youth was filled with tears, longing to belong, uncertainty, and guilt. I never felt comfortable being who I was and was never accepted for who I wanted to be and who I was born to be. I found an escape through sports, but once the games or practices were over, I was alone again, all because I was different. Around middle school, the bullying I had endured throughout elementary school got worse. Luckily, I had a teacher, Mr. Rigby, who was always there to support me in being my authentic self. He himself was a member of the community. It was my freshman year of high school that I attempted suicide for the first time. The Catholic school I was attending, due to the severity of the bullying and my mental health status, asked me to leave. Even though I excelled in sports and signed an NCAA Division I field hockey national letter of intent, the bullying continued. I should have been living the American dream that my family immigrated from Italy for. Instead, I was continuously attacked. In an effort to continue to live the life society and my family expected of me, I dated men, no matter how uncomfortable and wrong it felt. In 2025, my son was born, and I thought my dreams of being a mother had come true. Unfortunately, a year later, my mother asked me if I was gay. When I responded yes, she gave me the response I feared my entire life. I begged and cried for mercy as she threw everything I owned down the driveway. I became homeless and had no other choice but to leave my son with the two people who should have supported me the most, but they broke every part of me. The next few months were the darkest days of my life. I attempted suicide multiple times. I struggled to make sense of a now broken life. I felt like I had nobody besides my girlfriend. She would sneak me in and out of her grandma's window so I had a place to lay my head at night. Then one day we went to a drag show. They talked about an upcoming show called Drag King Idol. My girlfriend joked that I should try it. Well, guess what I did? And I felt free, so liberated to be on stage. My drag king troupe became my family. I am an example of that closeted lesbian who struggled in a world that tore down her wanting to live her true self. I also am an example of how the community of drag and LGBTQIA+ can save lives. As a community coming together, we strive to educate others not only to save lives of those like us, but those who don't understand who we are, and hopefully become allies instead of spreading further hate. We do not indoctrinate others by speaking our truth. All we want is to give hope to the next generation that change is possible, that gay rights and trans rights are seen for what they are, human rights. On behalf of the North Glen Dice Board, our LGBTQIA+ community and allies, I'm calling for the formal censure of Councilman Long and Walker. Censoring Councilman Long and Walker as a sign of formal disapproval of their actions on June 5th is the only answer to their actions. I call on you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, and the rest of the community to start the process of censoring them for their actions. It is my understanding that in North Glen we leave our personal agendas at the door during the presentation of all proclamations, and that did not happen when it was a very important proclamation to our community. The message that these council members sent on June 5th is not the message of inclusivity and acceptance that the city of North Glen has been striving for. Thank you.
Joanna, is there anyone else?
Yes, the next person on the list is Tom Lampo.
Hi, Tom. Please state your name and address and provide your comments to council.
Kristen, hold on one second. Is this yours?
That's on the top, yep. Thank you.
Sorry. All right. Tom Lampo, 3951 Jackson Way. And I'm here to pray for the city of North Glen. Heavenly Father, in Jesus Christ's precious and holy name, we invite you here to the city of North Glen. In Psalm 33:9 it states, "For he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. You created it all. You provided a place for us, and you are always welcome here. We want to give you thanks and praise for delivering a victory to the Nuggets and all their fans. We will look at it as a bright spot in these changing times. I lift up all people to you. We need your spirit to come and be among us. We are living in a spiritual war, and we have no chance without you. Our enemy is all around us. In 1 Peter 5:8 it states, "Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. He is devouring your creation because truth is being hidden from us. Many times we don't even have a clue of what we are being deceived about. We go about our days as if everything is normal. We've become accustomed to the muck and the mire when you have so much more for us." Isaiah 6:9 describes us. It states, "And he said, go and say this to the people, keep on hearing, but do not understand, keep on seeing, but do not perceive." Our hope lies with the Holy Spirit. In John 14:26 it states, "But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you." Send your Holy Spirit to all people. Open our eyes and our ears and give us understanding. Let's be aware of the deception around us. There are individuals the devil is using to move an evil agenda forward. The deception is so great that it has consumed our lives. We want peace. One last time, send your Holy Spirit to those who are attempting to destroy us to see if they will turn from their ways. If not, send us leaders who want good for mankind. In Psalm 75:7 it states, "But it is God who executes judgment, putting down one and lifting up another." We can rest in the comfort that your truth is on the horizon and your judgment is following. In Jesus Christ's precious and holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys. You have a nice night.
Thank you.
Next person on the list is Wes Dunbar.
Good evening. I'm Wes Dunbar, 10458 in Ogden Street in Ward 1. I come this evening wearing three hats in this community. I'm sure you wear multiple hats as well. First, obviously, I'm a citizen, a resident of North Glen. I shop almost exclusively in North Glen. I do business, visit doctors, counselors, veterinarians in North Glen, even host bingo at our local Bingo Oasis Bingo Hall. Come out Friday at noontime. What I have discovered in conversations as well as observations in our community is that there is a tremendously diverse community in which we live. The businesses that I frequent, the establishments I go to, they're not only delighted that we have a diverse community of patrons and clients, but it's good for business. And this is true throughout the country. From mom and pop stores to Microsoft and Apple, the argument is made consistently that diversity is good for business. Diversity makes more money. It's real simple. Second, I'm a member of the Dice Board since its inception. I'm also very proud of the work that we have done on the Dice Board, the contributions we've made, and the vision we hold in lifting up diversity in North Glen. In our first few years, we laid a solid foundation of this working board. We have promoted and supported a wide variety of activities that are intentionally inclusive and reach a broad spectrum of our constituents. The Dice Board consists of some of the best people I have ever worked with on any committee or board or organization. Our board has intelligent, compassionate, thoughtful, and creative members willing to work hard for this city. We are passionate about working with and for North Glen. I especially appreciate City Council's vision to establish the Dice Board in an effort to hear all of the voices in our community and to work for all the diverse residents of our community. Third, I am a person of faith and pastor of St. John's Lutheran Church in Thornton, the one across from the Margaret Carpenter Park. The members, families, and friends who gather to worship, witness, and work at St. John's are from all over the North Metro area, but especially from North Glen. And our confession of faith and our commitment as people who strive to live our faith is that God loves all people. In particular, our scripture teaches that God is unequivocally on the side of the marginalized, outcast, forgotten, the stranger, the disadvantaged, the abused, poor, and needy. Faithfulness is not defined by who we are willing to exclude, but by whom we are willing to include. And that is a challenge we face every day. Whether we're inside the church or outside the church, doesn't matter. And we strive in our community of faith to look for a way, always, anyways, for opening doors, for opening our arms, and most of all, to open our hearts. Whether people in our community are of my faith, of any faith, or of no faith at all, I want them to feel welcome and safe and at home in North Glen. We live in contentious times. People are divided at every turn. Pride Month is an opportunity to celebrate diversity in folks in our community who have not had a voice traditionally. It was exciting to see our city step up and celebrate life, talent, and creativity with joy with a Pride Month celebration and the city's Pride Proclamation. North Glen City Council's proclamation of Pride Month was a remarkable announcement. It spoke loud and clear to all our residents that we are an excellent community, we have great people, and are moving forward to being fully inclusive. Our celebration of Pride Month is a positive, educational, and enriching for everyone. Thank you, City Council.
Thank you.
Next person on the list is Catherine Skyling.
Hi, Catherine. Please state your name and address and your comments to council.
Catherine Scheiling, 429 Belford Drive. I'm a 30-year member of this community and a recent member of the Dice Board, and I'm here to also add my comments about the recent actions of council members Long and Walker on June 5th. I don't believe either one of them would ever have considered walking out of the presentation of the proclamation to honor other members of our community, like Hispanic Heritage Month, Asian Pacific Islander Month, because you know how deeply disrespectful that is of people of our community, to your constituents, to their contributions to our community, and to the harm that they have endured. If you can look past simplistic labels like woke or politically correct that are used to deride efforts to acknowledge and include historically marginalized groups, you will see real people who have suffered real harm, physical violence, bullying, discrimination, exclusion, and the mental health struggles that result. Some of them are your constituents. Some of them are employees of this city. Your actions made them feel unwanted, unwelcome, and for some of them, unsafe. Not only is that not the type of community that we want to be, but you have an obligation as an elected or appointed official to be respectful of all of the residents of your ward, of this city, not just ones you agree with or who voted for you, but everyone. Most of us will never grapple with something as profoundly fundamental to the very core of our being, to our sense of self, as our gender identity or sexuality. But it shouldn't take much effort to understand how difficult that struggle will be, particularly in a society that excludes, diminishes, and even harms you. You shouldn't have to be a member of that community or experience the same struggles to understand the basic human need, right, that we all have to be treated with respect, dignity, courtesy, generosity, and fairness. And doing so in no way diminishes you. You do not lose when someone else is included. Our communities grow stronger. Our hearts grow larger when we acknowledge and celebrate all of our members. Indeed, I believe our strength as a nation has always been in our diversity, from the contributions of so many groups, from learning from one another. That is a point of our nation's motto, out of many one, e pluribus unum. In fact, the very things that the anti-woke agenda derides, diversity, inclusivity, equity for all, are the aspirational ideals that date back to the founding of this nation. And despite the fact that we have often fallen far short of these ideals in our history, they are central to what draws people to this country even today. They are central to what the rest of the world admires about the United States. They are central to our identity as Americans. The recent efforts made by dice boards, made by this town, to redress the harm in our nation's past is proof that we continue to be inspired by these ideals. Your actions that demean these ideals of equity and fairness for all are proof that we need to continue to speak out in support of them. Thank you for your time.
Next person is Celeste Jackson.
Hi, Celeste. Please state your name and address and provide your comments to council.
Hi, I'm Celeste Jackson and live at 3428 East 107th Court, Ward 1. Councilman Long, I serve on the dice board since its inception. I have lived in North Glen for more than 20 years and am a Colorado native. And as I've been listening this evening and supporting my colleagues on dice board, I want to name you in that you haven't looked up, you haven't listened, you haven't engaged in a way that showed that you even are caring about what's happening here. And this is directed towards you and someone else who really isn't even present. You need to pay attention and you need to give that some dignity. Thank you.
Next person on the list is Kristen Premer.
Good evening. I'm Kristen Premer. I live at 10776 Ura Lane.
My name is Kristen Premer. I've lived in North Glen for over 40 years. I'm a board member with the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. I'm a volunteer victims advocate with the cities of North Glen, Thornton, and Federal Heights. I'm also a preschool teacher. I stand before you tonight to express my extreme disappointment and outrage with the 2 council members who chose to step outside when Mayor Leahy proclaimed June 2023 Pride Month. Our elected officials are elected and appointed to represent the entire community, not just the ones they stand in agreement with. While I realize this might be difficult when issues push up against your own personal views, I strongly believe that those personal views must be checked at the door while you are in the position of representing your community. While I am not a member of the LGBTQIA community, I stand as a proud ally. I have never felt the need to stand publicly in protest until this moment, and I feel I must have my voice heard. I had to stand up and speak out. I urge you all to remember that your jobs here as city council members for my city of North Glen are to represent us all. Thank you.
Next person on the list is Luis Nava. May have said that totally wrong.
Luis?
We're here for the
Luis.
beautification.
Luis.
Okay, I'm Luis. I live in 10861 Mildred Drive, in North Glen. I live in for 8 years. We're here. Well, I'm concerned about not really personal things, but about the people mentioned, you know. I make observation of what they say, by discrimination and some other things involved, But I see some people suffer about those things, and if we can do something about those things happen, okay? We can make a solution or something, or you have one idea, we can help that people, Okay, that's what I have. That's my concerns, Okay.
Thank you.
The next person on the list is Chase Janice.
I'm currently burning some sage. It's called smudging. It's just to purify the room here. So, Haumitakiapi, hello relatives. My name is Chase Janice. I live at 10676 Logan Court. Olowan Wapia Machiapi. They call me Medicine Song. I'm a proud member of the Ogallala Lakota tribe and the Sioux Nation, or the Ochedi Shakowin, the 7 council fires. I grew up in a little house in Denver that my great-grandparents built when they moved here from Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota, due to the Indian Relocation Act. I can trace my ancestors back to French fur trappers turned translators and to Irish immigrants who fled their homeland. I live and work in North Glen, and I am this close to getting my bachelor's in sociology and environmental studies from MSU Denver. I am queer. I am two-spirit and non-binary. I am transgender. To me, these words mean freedom from the limitations that were given to me based on my perceived genitalia. Because sex, like gender, is not a binary. It is not simple or easy as we may wish. Like everything in life, there is always nuance. These labels I've decided to carry with me mean that I get to choose what I am, how I am, who I am. They mean that I am part of a community. Intersex people exist and always have. Queer people exist and always have. Transgender people exist and always have. We are natural. We are human. This is our history, all of ours, because it is human history. It has already been illegal for queer and trans people to exist. We've been bullied, beaten, and murdered. An entire generation was made the scapegoat for a terrible sickness, and so many are gone now, leaving countless to fill the empty spaces where loved ones and our elders should be. We've been made to hide in that closet in shame and terror for a long, long, long time. So many still do. This is why Pride is vital. It has evolved into a big, colorful, loud celebration of our diversity and resilience, but the first Pride was a riot against our continual criminalization and dehumanization. I've spent many hours wondering why these two individuals, tasked with representing the lives of their people, decided to disrespect not only their constituents and fellow council members, not only their community, but also themselves. And I simply don't understand it. I can make guesses. I can make a lot of ugly guesses related to fear and disgust, ignorance and hate, but it's not how I was raised, and it goes against everything I've been taught. Mitakuye Oyasin, we are all related. Evolutionarily, all of us came from the same cell, and we were all made by Tunkashala, the creator, God. And today, it is true now more than ever that we are irreparably connected to one another. We cannot survive without each other, so you must treat others the way you wish to be treated. There is implicit trust given to the members of this council when you're appointed that you will respect and serve this community. And these two council members broke that trust and wounded so many of us without ever having looked into our eyes. I beseech the council for serious consideration about the impact such simple actions like these create, and for you to examine what is happening across the country as backlash against progress continues, and for you to take action in return. Whatever those actions might be, please let love and pride for our community guide you above all else. Wobila, thank you.
Okay, next person on the list is Autumn Romero.
Hey, Autumn. Chase, man.
I know.
I cannot speak as eloquently as all the members that have come up here to talk about their concerns and issues. Really, I just wanted to also voice that we have a lot of concerns with the inactions of Mr. Long and Mr. Walker. The words that were used after the June 5th occurrence. Mr. Walker was saying that people were keyboard warriors and that his constituents are sheep. I'm so deeply disappointed that a human being who sits up on this dais would look at his constituents that way. Mr. Long, equal rights or rights for others does not mean less for you. You are an avid follower of Mark Twain, are you not? This quote is for you. Politicians in diapers must be changed often for the same reason. If you cannot stand up here and represent everybody in this community, then this is not the right job for you. And I would suggest that you step down come election time, because our voices will be heard. We will let the community at large know what you and Mr. Walker stand for. And it is not hate. It has no place in this community. I forgot my address. 10676 Sierra Lane. Thank you.
Next person on the list is Rayana Blackman.
Good evening. I am Rayanna Blackman. I'm with the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board. I live on 10211 Euro Lane in Thornton, Colorado. I just have a few statistics for you today. I'm good with the numbers, not the words. Nearly 5% of the US population does not identify as heterosexual, but identifying as part of the LGBTQ+ community. Student athletes that identify as LGBTQ are not only at risk of substance abuse, but also at risk of experiencing specific mental health conditions. This population experiences high levels of anxiety, depression, and feelings of isolation. As well, 20% of student athletes have been cyberbullied, and 50% have reported feelings of isolation. It has generally been observed that LGBTQ+ older adults have poorer mental health and more significant mental diseases and distress than heterosexual adults. Depressive symptoms are estimated to occur in 29% of patients. Men who identify as gay, which disclose their sexual orientation, usually experience family discord, rejection, and failure. Homosexuality is considered an important factor in adolescent suicide. In a survey of 350 gay males aged 14 to 21, 54% of the participants had attempted suicide before disclosing their sexual orientation. 27% had attempted suicide in the year when they disclosed their sexual orientation, and 19% have attempted suicide after they disclosed it. I would like to let you all know that no matter what our sexual orientation is, our race, our ethnicity, we are all 100% human beings, and we all deserve to be heard. And we need to be careful with what our actions and our words can imply to these people, to anyone, because we all have feelings, just like the rest of us. It is important to make sure that we have the resources capable of people who are hurting that we don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Thank you. The last person that signed up in advance is George Stump.
Hello, my name's George Stump. I live at 9981 Melody Drive. I feel like I showed up on the wrong night. I did not expect this, so I'm a little out of sorts. But I want to address a few things in the community and really address the council members and the mayor to tell you guys that you carry a big stick. What you require from our facilities people is important, not only in policing and the different facets of the community that you are in charge of, I feel, needs to be driven hard. When we accept mediocrity, that's what we get. So for personally, Melody Drive is a nightmare to me. My grandkids cannot play in the front yard. I mean, we just will not let them out there. I know you guys have done studies, whatever, you say the average speed is 31 miles an hour. I beg to differ. I'm a little further south than the high school. For years, it's been blamed on the high school. It's not the high school. It's the people that come off of I-25 trying to get to work or whatever. The highway's backed up. They see Melody when it used to be a 4-lane street. That was a 50-mile-an-hour drive. I know a previous council member, I spoke to him and he tried to address it and reduce the number of lanes, and it helped. I just want to say the electronic speed numbers, whatever they're called, are a waste of time, a waste of money. What it does is for the people that live on Melody Drive, it's our speedometer. For the people that don't live on Melody Drive, it means nothing. The lights are flashing blue and red and they just keep going. So I'm here to ask for more either stop signs or speed bumps. I believe it's Croak Drive on the east side. That too was a corridor that was crazy. You can't go more than maybe 300 feet without hitting a stop sign or a speed bump. And you can't get up over 25 miles an hour. If 30 miles an hour is acceptable, then that's your call. But to me, it isn't. I don't want one of my kids killed out there. Secondly, I'd like to address the main, what I feel are the main corridors in North Glen, which is here on 104th and Washington. I believe they drive what this community should be. So when them roads are a filthy mess, then the rest of the community is a filthy mess. I used to see a guy on Washington riding his 10-speed, wearing a yellow vest, sweeping the gutters. I mean, he was out there risking life and limb to keep that street beautiful. The recent repaving of Washington was great, but it was mediocre in that the manhole covers are worse than the potholes that were there previously. So if you accept that, then that's what you get. I worked for the University of Colorado for 38 years. I was at the Health Science Center. We had a hospital, we had research facilities, and we had, schools of higher education. There was no mediocrity. At one point, the chancellor came to me and he said, "You're responsible to have all snow removed by 8 a.m. He didn't tell me how to do it. He told me, do it. You have a number of people at your disposal. And, I was expected to make that happen. If our emergency room drive had them bumps that you have on Washington Street, I mean, people would have fell out of their strapped-in beds. So it's just atrocious, and I'm afraid the same thing's going to happen on here on. Next, I'd like to address code enforcement, and I don't know how you guys run the code enforcement piece of the community. I feel that they're 100% reactive. I've heard recently that they're some 60% proactive. When I've called to complain, and I don't want to be that person, but that's what's required. It seems like I'm fighting an uphill battle. They don't want to address the issue. I've even had them go so far as to argue with me about what I'm seeing. So I think it's a perfect opportunity. I'm sorry, I have a really dry mouth. Pay for performance, where that's an excellent place to use pay for performance. Tell them, you go out and cite so many people. I'm not saying, harass us. I live in this community because I don't want to live in a community where the neighbors are telling me what color I can paint my house and stuff. But I don't want this place to end up like Adams County where my parents lived, where that community just went to trash because there was no code, there was no enforcement. I recently asked about a camping ban, and I was told North Glen has a camping ban. And I was shocked. I said, we do. I didn't know we had a camping ban. What does it consist of? Oh, we give them 72 hours to move. That's not a camping ban. That's not a camping ban. My fear is with what's going on with the city of Denver, that's all going to push out here. And I'm not saying ignore these people or don't try to help them or whatever, but we've had a few campsites around our neighborhood. They do move on, but I think it's coming in heavy. It's going to come in heavy, and I'd propose that you revisit the camping ban. It's got to be much stricter. I agree 100%. Try to help people that are in need of mental or drug abuse or alcoholism or whatever. But I can't see this community like I-25 and Broadway. That's just ridiculous. I want to applaud you on your awards and recognition that I just witnessed. That is cool. I think you should do that for your employees. I I would also propose that we go with maybe the worst house of the month. You know, make people feel like they're part of this community, and if you can't even mow your lawn once a month, well, maybe you need to live somewhere else. Gosh.
George, your 5 minutes have surpassed. Can you wrap up for me?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would just finish with saying I agree 100% with the diversity and the things that have been said here. I also think it's America and people have a right to their opinion. So we can't be 100% one way and 0 the other. So I don't know what was said. I apologize. I don't know what was happened here, but I think people have a right to their opinion no matter who or where. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna, that was the final one that signed up, correct?
That signed up in advance, yes.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Is there anyone in the audience? That's my next script. Is there anyone who did not have a chance to sign up but would like to speak to council? Come forward, state your name and address, and provide your comments.
Hi, my name is Joe Brown. I live at 2007 East 115th Place. So I think this thing of censure is a little bit over the top, all right? I'm playing devil's advocate. Things that I say are not necessarily what I believe or my opinion, but I like to look at things logically. Now, should they have done it differently on that day? Absolutely. However, some of the beliefs that people have are a lot stronger than what happens in this room. Now, they could have stood up and said something negative, but they chose to quietly leave the room. Maybe they should have just come down with council and just went through the motions, you know? We talk about diversity. Mr. Long and Tim, or Nick, are, just as diverse as the rest of us. And we're trying to take that away from them. I think it was blown out of proportion because they didn't say anything. They just quietly left the room. And somebody picked up on it, and then this snowballed and got stupid, as far as I am concerned. I have the floor. Like I said, what I said is not necessarily my entire opinion, but I like to look at things from both sides. And I get it, but I don't get it. They could have done things differently. However, they didn't voice their opinion, which would have caused a lot more problems. So let's show them. You know what? We need to show them the same thing that you expect to be shown for yourselves. They didn't spew any hate. They didn't say anything negative that I know of. They made a silent statement by leaving the room. So we need to make sure that they're treated just like you want to be treated. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who did not get a chance to sign up that would like to speak to council? Go ahead and come forward, state your name and address, and provide comments.
My name is Betsy Goddard. I live at 10735 Tancred Street in Ward 4. I would just like to address what was just said by saying the rest of us are not sitting up there. The rest of us are not tasked with representing all of the people of our ward and our city. I don't think you all deserve respect, absolutely. but you're not up there as people, you're up there as representatives. That's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Please come forward, state your name and address, and provide your comment.
Hi, my name is Casey Goddard. I'm at 10735 Tankard as well. You just heard from my lovely wife, so I will not contradict anything she said. I have to go home tonight. I think one of the key problems that I have is that there were words, and words have consequences and have meaning. I think that when citizens are referred to as keyboard warriors, I think it's probably meant hyperbolically, but it's also inflammatory. It's begging for confrontation. Are you a keyboard warrior, or are you willing to stand up in front of us and say something to me directly? How do I do that? Then to follow up and kind of double down with using words like sheep and lions. And lions don't lose sleep over the words of sheep, or whatever it was, I paraphrase. It's an unfortunate choice of words. To use a predator and a prey. Again, begging for confrontation. Now, my personal story, I'm embarrassed to say that when I was a young man, and I grew up in North Glen. My parents moved to North Glen in 1977. I'm still here. I'm 50. But I'm embarrassed to say that when I was a young man, before I knew better, I used words like gay in a what's the word I'm thinking? Derogatory, a pejorative way. And it's embarrassing to me to think of that now. You know, I played ice hockey for years and years and years. And I've worked in blue collar industry my whole life. And so I've had this like remedial training the whole time. But I played ice hockey for years. And on mainstream teams. And I gotta say, the competitiveness, the drive, that was all great. I was invited to play on a GLBTQ ice hockey team. They were called the Colorado Climax, and they played right over at the Westminster Promenade. And it was a co-ed team, there was 2 teams at the time. Some of the guys and gals played at D1 schools, high-level hockey. But it was an amazing community, and it opened my eyes. I'm a cis man. You know, what right do I have to say anything to advocate for anyone else, right? I'm probably the most politically correct person, maybe in this room, to hate. I've had every advantage. If I'm a failure, it's because of my own shortcomings. It's not because anything was ever withheld from me. And I can't say that that's the same thing for a lot of my friends here. I think that they've been put at a disadvantage and marginalized for their whole lives. And I think that as city council members, you should expect more from each other. You should hold each other to a higher standard. We should hold you to a higher standard. I'm embarrassed to admit this is the first city council meeting I've been to. Very, very eye-opening and fun. But Councilman Long, Councilman Walker, do better, be better, be better. I guarantee you that if you walked into a pride festival, parade, you would be welcomed with open arms. You would be loved. Would they be loved if they came to your home? It doesn't compute for me. It doesn't compute for me. Now, censure, I don't know. I don't know what the effective way of holding people to task when it comes to our elected and appointed officials. But you certainly have to listen to the citizens. And I think that's all I have. Is that all I have, Ben? That's all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience?
I'd like to speak.
Please come forward, state your name and address council.
Hello, my name is Björn Magnus. I live at 5231 East 123rd Avenue. I don't live in North Glen, but I shop here. I go to school here. I have many friends who live here. I'm here all the time. But the thing that I want to address is that my loved ones came to me and said that there was a great injustice that happened when we were supposed to be celebrating them, when we were supposed to be acknowledging them, and when we were supposed to be loving them. I'm a transgender man, I'm gay, and hearing what happened at this court, what happened at the event that was supposed to be beautiful and turned it ugly, turned it hateful, it's unexcusable. I want to say thank you for looking at me. I noticed that you have not paid the same kindness to the rest of my friends who have been speaking. And I just want to say that if you were elected, you do not get to choose who you represent. Either step up or step down. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to address council this evening? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council? You may press *6 to unmute yourself at this time. Hearing none, I believe we have come to the end of public comment. The next item tonight is council communications. Based on the information and request we just received under public invited to be heard, it is appropriate to have 2 rounds of council communications. The first round will address only the request the council just received to consider the censure of members of council, and the second round will be the more customary council communications. We have also received a memorandum forwarded to us by the city manager from the North Glen Next Committee, expressing the committee's concern that the actions at the June 5th council meeting were contrary to the 2019-2023 City of North Glen strategic plan and inconsistent with strategic goal number 6 of the city's vision statement. For clarity, the North Glen Next Committee is a group of city staff members. For this first round of communications, I would suggest we have 3 options for council to consider and comment on. Option number 1 is to consider a verbal motion of censure tonight. Option 2 is to consider a censure by resolution at the next regular city council meeting as part of the regular agenda and direct the city attorney to draft such a resolution for council's consideration. And option number 3 is to do nothing. I will start with Ward 1, Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, just need a minute. I am very pregnant, very hormonal. And this evening has been very moving in a lot of ways for me. Specifically carrying a child that I will love no matter what. The thing that I really want to bring up is this concept of the tolerance paradox. Does everyone know what that is? Okay, it's like essentially that if we are tolerant of everythything, we will fall into a society that is essentially fascism, controlling dictatorship. We cannot be tolerant of everything. There is a point where we cannot accept intolerant behavior. To make a stand, to make our society move forward. This is often discussed, in context with Nazi Germany and sort of these things. And this comes to mind for me, particularly with this situation, and I've thought about this a lot since June 5th. And while I do think everyone has a right to their opinions, and your opinions may be different from mine, and in fact, I welcome that because diversity makes the world go round, I will not accept intolerance from the dais, and I will not accept disrespect of our residents, of our neighbors, of our staff members. Also, I want to thank everyone from Ward 1 who came and spoke this evening. I truly appreciate your words. I really do hope that lessons are learned from this and people take the opportunity to learn and grow and meet with people and have conversations that help change your mind, because life is so boring if you live in your bubble by yourself and you live with the same people and the same thoughts and the same foods. I am hungry also, so sorry. I would also like to bring up the point of safety. We talk a lot about safety, in the form of police, but safety means different things to different people, right? Being in a room, growing up with school shootings, sometimes, Chief and I have talked about this already, when the police, like our, lovely officers make moves, it makes me anxious sometimes, because that's what I grew up with, that's what I am used to. And I haven't always had the best experience with authority figures like that. Like, I just want to understand that safety means different things to different people, and I want to respect our rules and the city charter and sort of everything we've put together for the strategic plan of like a diverse look at safety as well. Yeah, I think, and I want city staff to know that I respect them. I respect Northglenn. I want everyone in this room, in these buildings, in our city to feel heard, to feel safe walking the streets, to feel comfortable, to love this community as much as I do. I mean, we moved here and I jumped in feet first, and I love it here. And I would love us to continue to lead and govern with love and respect for this city that we chose to represent and the people that we chose to represent no matter what. Okay, I think that is all I can say.
Do you want to weigh in?
Can we talk about the difference between option 1 and option 2?
Certainly. Corey?
Option 1 would simply be a motion tonight to censor, essentially. Option 2 would be having a document that is in written form, that is a resolution. Legally, they have the same effect, but the resolution would be prepared based on your direction tonight and then considered at a regular meeting. So it's a little different. It would be a formal item on the agenda. In many respects, probably more consistent with the open meetings law, because it would be, there'd be a specific agenda item. But again, it is council's prerogative if it's between 1 and 2.
Can we explain what censuring means to the audience?
Certainly.
Certainly. And we actually have the United States Supreme Court case from 2022, so very recent, that addressed censure by an elected official of one of their own. And I'm I suspected I might get this question, so I have the case in front of me, and I'm going to just read a little bit of it because this is taken straight from the opinion. As early as colonial times, the power of assemblies in this country to censure their members was more or less assumed. It seems, too, that assemblies often exercised the power to censure members for views they expressed and actions they took, both within and without the legislature. It is essentially a statement by an elected body in this context expressing displeasure with something that one of its members did. And the case, the United States Supreme Court case, was very narrow because it addressed only censure by elected officials in an elected body. So it was limited, frankly, to this circumstance. And it is the type of action that is an expression of speech, and that's one of the things that the Supreme Court decision talks about. It is not a deprivation of any right. You're not losing a property right. You're not losing a liberty interest by expressing a statement. And in fact, one of the things the court said is that it's no First Amendment violation for the individuals that are being censured, nor is it a First Amendment violation for those doing the censuring, because it is expression by both parties of whatever it is that's at issue. So it is simply a statement by the council if there is a determination to censure of essentially the displeasure with whatever happened.
Thank you, Corey. That was very helpful. I am currently leaning toward option 1.
Okay. Councilmember Brown?
I know you're all waiting to hear this one, huh? Okay. Here's my thing, and I said it 2 weeks ago, I believe. When you walk in that door, you leave your personal agendas at the door. My husband, who's back there, and I'm very proud of him, sat me down before I ran for council because he was previous, and he said, you leave your personal opinion at the door, you leave your political beliefs at the door, and you represent everybody in this community. I'm terming out in November. I have been involved in this community for 8 years, and I have always lived by those rules. I do not just represent the residents from Ward 2. I represent the residents of the entire city, and that includes this community, our LGBTQ plus. Did I get it right? Am I missing something? Okay, I'm gonna put a W at the end so I can join and be completely different. But that's my thought. I have given a lot of thought to this. I really have, almost to the point where I have made myself sick over it. I'm Polish. I'm also 60 years old, and if anybody was around then, we know how we treated the Polish people who immigrated to America. It was not pretty. It was not pretty growing up Polish. I cannot say that I understand it as deeply as you, but I was tormented in my childhood because I was Polish. You know, it was degrading. It haunts me to this day. I have been called Nazi, and it just makes my skin crawl. So I get it. But here's where I'm going with it. I would like to talk about it in 2 different formats, all right? And I hope you don't mind. We have had an extremely rough year on city council this year. We have had to make appointments to city council, whereas our residents were not able to vote for those appointments, and we did the best that we possibly could. I am going to tell you right now that I personally regret my vote for Councilmember Long. If I could have seen the future, I would not have given him my support. There have been several instances outside of this that I have been embarrassed and had to call people and say, I'm really sorry that you were treated like that in public. More of an approach, more of just coming in like a stormtrooper, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I would take that back. I made a mistake, and I apologize to the community. So, Part one of my statement is, Mr. Long, I have noticed since you joined the council that you don't treat our council as an elected board. You're trying to fit it into some kind of a North Metro Fire District. And I don't believe that you have given the council the respect that we deserve. After 8 years on council, or the mayor, or Councilmember Goff, who is also long-term here, you could have picked up the phone and said, you know what? This makes me really uncomfortable. And if you didn't want to talk to any of us, because quite frankly, you don't return emails. You don't, even if I've tried to text you, you don't. You don't want to talk to any of us because you don't think we're worthy of that conversation. You could have called our city manager and she would have told you the proper way to handle it. But you didn't. You didn't do that because once again, you showed this body, in my opinion, that you do not respect us. I went out and I campaigned and I voted and I have helped so many people in the community from every ward. And you have taken my pride for my city away from me. You have embarrassed me to the root of my core. How do I look at people? Christina lives in my ward. How do I explain to her? And why was it okay for somebody to be yelling outside her front door on the 4th of July? That's the type of behavior that your actions, your inability to stand there as one body, one supportive body to help this city, that's what your actions caused. And I think personally, and I heard it a couple times today, I think that you have decisions to make. I think that you need to, in my own personal opinion, I suggest you spend some time thinking about what is best for the community. And at this point, stepping down may be your best option because you have insulted not only our community, you have insulted me as a body of this community. I show up at every event, I smile, I wear my clothes, I want to hear what you have to say, I want to hear what you have to say, I want to hear what you have to say. And now, the stuff that I'm getting now is insulting. You have ruined my last year on council. You have taken it and you've ruined it. And I supported you from the get-go. And I don't know what I did wrong. And I don't know what clue I do know that you did leave the NURA board. And I found that out afterwards. So you're used to this kind of conflict. I don't want this conflict. I don't want it to go on in council. I know that I'm not Mayor Pro Tem and I know that I'm not mayor. But I am the senior member on this council. And I have been disrespected enough this year that I'm not standing for it anymore. As the senior member of council, I ask that you step down. I don't even give you the option to step up or step down. You, in my mind, you must step down. And in regards, so if that tells you anything, I want it written. I want a written proclamation. I want my constituents, my friends in this city to know that I support them 100%. In regards to Mr. Walker, and that's why I split this up, because I want to explain to you both sides of it. Mr. Walker is an elected official. Councilmember Walker walked the streets, he met with his constituents, and they chose him. Although what he did was inappropriate, I feel that he would also have to be censured, right? But I would never ask Mr. Walker to resign. And the reason is that he did the same thing that I did. He went out and he got those votes and he talked to those people, right? Granted, this was probably not the number one issue when he was pounding on the doors, but I'm sorry, whoever said they have a dry mouth, I'm right there with you. He got the support of his residents. Mr. Long was appointed. Mr. Walker got the vote. So I would be in favor of a written resolution that goes on the record. And I would strongly suggest that should you not step down, that you look at your senior leadership and you ask them, because you have never been on council, you do not know how council is run, and you don't come in here like a bull in a china closet thinking you do. You have not once asked anybody, how should I handle this? I'm sorry, I'm not asking you to worry. How should I handle this? How do you deal with this? I understand that you've been here 8 years. I'm not begging for your respect, and I never would. But you've never once asked a question. but you took it upon yourself and your beliefs to destroy my city, to start a conversation that never had to happen. We have worked for diversity in the city. I have been involved in it since it first came up. We have worked and worked and worked, and you took all the hard work and you just tossed it down. You should have stood up there. And I'm gonna say one more thing and then I'm gonna stop, I promise. Because I am older, I burnt my bra. Because I am older, I have fought for women's rights, for equality, which I will point out again, our Equal Rights Amendment has not been passed in the United States. I have fought for these things, but not once after fighting for these things did I go, oh, I don't want to talk about it. You know, I talked about it and I talked about it loud to the point where my mother said, go put a bra on, and I said no. You know, if you're gonna make a protest, if you're gonna make a silent, passive-aggressive statement, have the balls to open your mouth and talk about it. It's more insulting that you don't have the wherewithal to address the community you insulted, that you just took it as a passive-aggressive move. That's insulting to me. And that is all I'm going to say, Madam Mayor. And for those of you wondering, yeah, we'll have a conversation later. But we have been talking. We have been talking for 3 weeks, okay? So as you know, this has come into my home. This has come into my bedroom, my home. Thank you very much, Mayor. I am done.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all, I want to thank all the people who came. If this is your first city council meeting, we never had this many people here. I just have to say, the few times that it's come close, or maybe we've had more, it's because there's been a lot of awards given out and people are here for awards. So this is the first time that I can remember in my tenure here, this is my 4th year, that we had a lot of different people come in to speak to one particular issue. So this is a loud and clear message. This is not a silent message. This is loud and clear. So I just want to say that we try to leave our feelings behind, some of us anyway, but
I am the more vocal.
But I just want to say that really sad that we have people in our community that feel unsafe, threatened, their future is uncertain. There's fear because of a statement that, or an action that two council members took. And I don't even know what else to say about that, except that Northglenn is not represented by that one action. You just, please hold that in your mind. And I also want to go back to that proclamation that kind of started this all off. It ended with these words. The city of Northglenn recognizes the resilience and accomplishments of LGBTQ+ individuals and reaffirms its commitment to respecting and protecting the rights of every resident, employee, volunteer, vendor, and visitor who are a part of the LGBTQ+ community. Dry mouth again. And I just want to say, this is a clear statement of the council's values and the values of the strategic plan of this city. And it was mentioned previously that number 6 of the 8 strategic priority areas in that plan is this. I'm just going to read again. Diverse community, that's the heading, and the action statement is maintain and celebrate our diverse community. And that is what we are up here. This majority of this council is clearly in support of this action statement and our strategic plan. It's since 2019. I mean, it's coming up again this year. We'll be like upgrading it or updating it. And that there's no way that anything is going to change there except to make that maybe a stronger statement. So I want it to be heard loud and clear by all of our residents and employees that the council not only protects the rights of every resident and employee, but that we value and celebrate you. We value the benefits that are generated when diverse perspectives and voices work together. I can promise that I will work tirelessly to protect and maintain this vision of the city of Northglenn. I want this to be a place where my son and daughter are happy to come up and visit me when our families get together and not be afraid of how they might be treated or what could happen to them if they come up to Northglenn. So together, we're going to keep Northglenn moving. I am totally in support, as we've heard from the request from a lot of the people here in the room, to censure these 2 council members. And I think I agree with Councilmember Brown that option 2 is maybe the best way to go, is the best way to go. Just be definite about it. And again, thank you all for coming. I mean, we don't always get that, as many of our DICE board members at one DICE board meeting in person. So you know that this was important to them. So thank you so much.
I just want to clarify. I think I'm taking note. So option 1 is the verbal tonight. Option 2 is the resolution. I just,
Yeah, option 2.
1 or 2, 2 and 2. That's what I thought, but I wanted to. Councilmember Kondo.
Madam Mayor, out of respect, point of order.
Oh, goodness gracious, I apologize.
Councilmember Yaramillo.
That is totally on me. I really apologize. Councilmember Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to thank everybody who came and spoke and listened today. I am an ally. I stand in solidarity with the residents of North Glen and the DICE board, the LGBTQ plus community, North Glen staff, and my colleagues on council who accept an inclusive community for everyone. And with that all said, I'm open for option 1 and 2, but definitely not 3. So I understand that a verbal agreement would be not as, legally, I can understand why Corey said for number 2 but I'm open for 1 and 2, but I'll say 2 now.
Okay. Councilmember Khan.
So, Councilmember Yaramillo, you were actually briefer than I was, or at least will be. First of all, I do have a statement that I'd like to read, and it will be a little bit longer than I normally am in terms of my brevity. But what I want to do is really share with you my background and experience, because I believe that each personal life experience really informs and shapes how you perceive and think about things. And also, hopefully I will come to a conclusion here that gives you some sense that I've also spent a lot of time thinking about this. So first of all, I'm not perfect. I'm of Japanese American ethnic background. And I can tell you that having been a minority, I have benefited from affirmative action. I have heard stories from my dad and my uncles when they lived and worked here during World War II when they had rocks thrown at them. My uncles fought in the 442nd. And I can imagine, just like the African Americans, like the Buffalo Soldiers, and all various other conflicts, they fought to earn the right to be American citizens and to enjoy the same constitutional rights and privileges as anybody else who's a citizen in the United States. Serving on council is hard work. This is really hard. I didn't think I would imagine how hard this was when I put my name in the hat last April, a year ago, and fortunately was selected for this great honor. And I will tell you that I think it was hard. This last month was hard, or 6 weeks was very hard for everybody on council, and I can tell you that personally because I've had the opportunity to speak with most everybody here one-on-one. I also recognize that as an individual, everyone has free will. I can't change people's minds. They have to choose to change from within. And my hope is that by having dialogue and improving understanding and mutual respect, that evolution of thinking and change in mindset will happen. And that was what I've been doing for the last 6 weeks, engaging, having dialogue, trying to understand different points of view. And it's funny, I was just on a business trip. I got back on Friday, and as I was coming down the escalator there at DIA, there's this sign. It says Dolly Parton. It says, we need to see the best in everyone. And literally, I thought about that, and I thought about this meeting that we're having today. It's so important to be able to find the best attributes in everybody and everything. So most of my adult life, I've served as a naval officer. You may not know this, and that's why I'm going through this. I will tell you, when I went to the Naval Academy, I was in the men's gymnastics team. Some of my team members were gay. This was the time of don't ask, don't tell. And through the 90s, certainly I had the great experience and honor to be able to work alongside gay and lesbian sailors, Marines, soldiers, airmen, but they were living in an environment where they could not declare and be transparent about who they were for threat of being dishonorably discharged from the military. But yet these people were just as capable and just as honorable warriors, I believe. That it really informed how I think about people in the LGBTQI community. Some of my lifelong friends are gay, and I fully accept their decision and their lifestyle choices. My sense is that everything that's going on the national stage and the polarization and the culture war that is being created has really bubbled a whole lot of ugliness up, and it's very unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that our politicians, especially at the senior level, are using that to their advantage. And that's one reason why I decided to come onto this council. I thought, at least with the arc of my experience, I could try and bring some civility and bring some different viewpoints and do that in a way by setting the example and being somewhat the calm, demure nature that I am. I think I am pretty calm generally. Try and get us to a place where we can find middle ground. Just like Mr. Lampo and other people have said, let's find middle ground here. But there are a few things that I do want to finish here, say before I finish, and that is, you know, my guy's member here, Councilmember Long, he's said on several occasions how much he really respects me, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. I do remember some things that you said about a duty to act and a duty to care. That certainly, for me, means a lot. And you know, that's the reason why we all spend a lot of time and energy here. This is not a full-time job, by the way. We get paid a very meager stipend to cover our expenses. But the reason why we do it is because we love our city, we love our country, we love the state. Actually, I got that order backwards. We love our country, we love our state, and we love this city. And we love the residents. Also, I think we do have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer. And part of this controversy has caused me to think about over the last 6 months, what is the role of government? You know, is the role of government to be able to provide public safety, making sure that you've got water, sewage, trash collection? I mean, without water, communities will just dry up and disappear. We've seen that throughout all of history and time. And so, you know, I sit here and I struggle with how we need to take very scarce resources to make sure that we're providing all the infrastructure that you all need so that this city can continue to thrive and exist. Because if we don't do that, you know, we're the basic blocking and tackling in football, we're failing really badly, and we'll be like Jackson, Mississippi. Maybe I should not have said that, but that's one thing I think about a lot. The one, I would like to just quote the Sailor's Creed, because again, I hope it gives you insight as to how I think about this entire issue. And the Sailor Creed goes as follows: I represent the fighting spirit of the Navy and those who have gone before me to defend freedom and democracy around the world. I proudly serve my country's Navy combat team with honor, courage, and commitment. I am committed to excellence and the fair treatment of all. This is the Sailor's Creed. The Sailor's Creed is not a thing that is contemporary. This has been around for decades, maybe even hundreds of years. And I just think about that last sentence. I am committed to the excellence and fair treatment of all. That, to me, is a very core principle that I really believe in. So when I was appointed, I was not elected. as Councilmember Brown may have indicated, and maybe she did not, but I was appointed. But when I first came onto this body, I felt a compulsion, a duty to be able to support the 5-year strategic plan, 2019 to 2023. We're still in 23. I felt like it is my duty and obligation to make sure that I'm following on the strategic goals and the vision of what my predecessors had established, because they spent a lot of time and energy on it. Who am I to change that? I think the way I address issues, I need to make sure that it's in alignment with the big picture. And that's the one thing that I've done. Clearly, a lot of fractured sort of things going on here in this body, high emotions. I think we need to do a lot in council to be able to rebuild the trust and mutual respect. And that's why I have this concern, because there's yet another Navy adage that I'm going to share with you, and that is to praise in public, censure in private. And unfortunately, I don't think we have the luxury of being able to censure in private, if I'm correct. Corey?
That's correct.
And that's the reason why the last 6 weeks I've been trying to have one-on-one conversations, because I'm trying to get us to a good spot here without having to resort to some pretty extreme and dramatic actions. Unfortunately, we are here today where we are. And unfortunately, Madam Mayor, out of fairness, I think to Councilmember Walker and Councilmember Long, I know Walker's not here. I would like to reserve my judgment on which option until I hear from Councilmember Long.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say. Thank you for bearing with this very long tome, but that's how I think about it. And hopefully you all, now knowing that, have faith and confidence about how I approach problems like this. Thank you.
Councilmember Long?
Can we hear from her first?
Nope, she's Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Long?
First of all, I want to thank everyone who had the confidence and courage to step up to the dais and the platform here. It's not always easy to do that. I know from personal experience, I've done it many times through the last 25 years. It's not an easy thing to get up and express yourself. As far as not looking at you directly, my habit is taking notes. That's what I do. I write history, I write reports, I write strategic plans. I'm always a note taker. So with all due respect, I was writing notes. I've got notes on 4 pages on everybody's statement, because I want to know what's in your hearts when you make statements like this. I do not have any hate in me. It does not exist in my being. I do not hate anyone. And to put my name next to the word hate has left me with many sleepless nights, to be square. It's not easy. My intention was about the city council continuously financing special studies, special consultants, leadership training, and special interest groups. On May 9th, I met with the city attorney and the city manager seeking advice about how to go about canceling the June 10th event. My concern was about, here we have another expenditure, somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000. We're spending a lot of money, precious dollars. Both thought my timing was poor as contracts had already been let. They felt that I should wait till budget time for the council to consider those and other special projects that are going forward. We have spent a great deal of money, folks. As I say, I'm a researcher, so when I go back and look the last 3 years of council decisions on spending money that wasn't necessarily specific to the city government's basic responsibilities and accountabilities, and let me just recite those to you. I was told by an old, now I am sure ex-Northglenn friend, who gave me the advice to just stick with sidewalks, sewers, garbage, and public safety. That's your job. That's the role of government. This is the basics of government. Spending any more money stresses the resources. We need to be here to protect and keep our people safe. Without knowing it, she had my point. She had made my point in the argument with her. I cannot help but agree with her, but I would also add water to the list, along with roads, parks, and public municipal buildings. My entire career has been in hospital administration and healthcare planning. I look out for others. That's why I was in that business. I recruited over 200 physicians into this marketplace, half of whom were minorities. Clearly 30% were ladies in all persuasions. I've worked in the foreign markets in the Arab Gulf states. My relationships required honesty with the courage to really listen. I did. When 65% of the hospital's workforce is comprised of women, they will know if you're not being fair and honest. Right off, they'll know it. And that's who I am. I've always been that. I've been their advocate. A black lady that was the director of nursing service at Rose Medical Center, her name was Johnny Johnson, was a true friend. I have a goddaughter in Palo Alto. She loved being with my wife and I. She happens to be Afro-American. She's a great kid. You don't know who I am. You already have decided who I am. You've already painted me with a brush of what I did. And why I left NURA was an injustice that was done to a contractor that was not hired by the city, but was hired by the Urban Renewal Authority. And the city manager at the time fired and canceled that contract. He had no right to do that. That's why I stepped away from NURA. I could do more virtue signaling. I could tell you about the gay family that we always embrace on family reunions up in Washington. I could talk to you more and more about concern I have, quite honestly. There's a lot of gossip that takes place on this dais amongst the people. In fact, when I first got on board, everybody called me to let me know what their points of view were. I don't do Twitter, I don't do Facebook, I don't listen to gossip. I occasionally respect a text if it's sent honestly. But when the people come with the vitriol that I've been having the last several weeks, you're not alone with the concerns. I have lost sleep myself. By remaining respectfully silent, a newspaper reporter and our state representative sought to get me on TV with this topic. I heard that on Twitter. One of my friends told me this. They pushed an agenda. They're acting as an outside agitator influencer, scripting a lot of the words for the biased council members that sit on this dais with me. They will not tell you where they are politically. Not that it's necessarily something we talk about, but it's there behind the scenes, and I know about it. The outsiders are very, very well-trained, provocative bullies. Saying it is not so does not make it untrue. They are there. They're seeking to have Northlanders continue in lockstep with them. However, there's a silent majority of unaffiliated folks who know better than to email or even text me now that the reporter cored everybody, lest they too be vilified. They talk to me on the phone, they come to my house, we talk in person. That's how scary things have gotten for the other side, the other people that have those opinions. But what am I telling them? I tell them, as I do you now, it's about the money going to special interest groups, not about they themselves. Each person can choose how to live. I respect that. That's the freedom garnered by our founding fathers, who did not live in a flawed American past like many people would have us believe. Not anything else is at foot here. Reading anything else into this is a dead end. It's not about anything else but being about the money needed for running government. I'm a researcher, a strategic planner in the healthcare field. Developmentally appropriate curriculum infused with arts is the newest thing that we pursue, my wife and I. It's called Waldorf Education. There's 150 working Waldorf teachers right now across the country on a Wheat Ridge School campus that my wife and I founded. It's another story. It got accredited again this month from the national Washington, D.C. offices. When you have it as one's calling to nurture the soul light of each and every child, do you think for one moment there can be any storyline that has to do with deceit or hate? No. Not on your life. As I said, as a researcher analyzing the last 3 years of council decisions, many of them have been inappropriate. I've been appalled by them and the money that's being spent.
Mayor?
You can't interrupt me, ma'am. I can.
No, I can. I
No,
am
you cannot.
parliamentarian, and I can tell you that you are stepping off subject of what we are talking about. We are talking about your behavior at this time. So I am bringing it back in as parliamentarian, as I have every right to ask you to please stay in topic.
Point of order, Counsel.
Excuse me, Mr. Long.
Point of
I am
order,
still
Counsel.
speaking, Mr. Long.
I am talking about what's taken place, and what motivated me to step away was the money being spent inappropriately. And you can't give a blanket okay on all past out-of-mission spending.
You are bringing up our issues or our decisions that previous councils have made as a defense for you. Madam Mayor, Attorney Hoffman, I feel as parliamentarian, he has stepped off base and he needs to go back on base and address the issues at hand. If Mr. Long would like to, in the future, schedule some time to talk about all the mistakes that council has made, we can consider that for a future agenda. But at this time, in this session, as parliamentarian, you are to stick to the subject and not try to deflect. Thank you very much.
Continue, Councilmember Long.
I tell them, as I do you now, it's about dollars going to special interest groups, not anything else. These are precious dollars. So what about police officers still working 12-hour shifts?
Okay,
Because
Mr.
money is
Long, I'm
spent
going to bring it up
elsewhere.
again as parliamentarian. You're stepping out of the topic of this conversation.
That's solely your opinion.
I will have the, no,
I want point of order from the attorney here, please.
he can't do point of order. He sits at our employment. Your point of order is right here, Mr. Long. And I was elected by this body before you were even considered as parliamentarian. So I'm asking you at this time, per Robert's Rules of Order, that you keep your context in the meeting that we have going on right now. We are not going to take your derogatory comments towards our police department. If you want to go on a banter on another side, you are fine.
Putting words in my mouth
Mr.
once
Long,
more.
I'm going to remind you again, as parliamentarian, that we are here to discuss this issue and your behavior. If you would like to address the other issues at another time in a different meeting, you are more than welcome to. But this meeting, at this time, is regarding the actions that you chose to take and nothing else.
So Councilmember Long, if you can tie that together, that would be great, and then give us your opinion on option 1, 2, or 3.
I'd like to quote somebody. John Lewis.
Why are you looking at me? Because you've been talked and put in your place? So
No.
now you're going to put it at
No,
me?
you're putting
You give your quote, Mr. Long. You give your quote,
You're
Mr.
putting your
Long.
personal angst on everything as you always do.
Oh, all the time.
Some
Let's do a
parliamentarian-
measurement of respect in the community, Mr. Long.
No.
Please, use your quote so we can move on to go to somebody else.
You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean toward the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth and follow its dictates. Release the need to hate, to harbor division, and the enticement of revenge. Release all bitterness. Hold only love, only peace in your heart, knowing that the battle of good to overcome evil is already won. Choose confrontation wisely, but when it is your time, don't be afraid to stand up, and speak out against injustice. And if you follow your truth down the road to peace in the affirmation of love, if you shine like a beacon for all to see, then the poetry of all the great dreamers and philosophers is yours to manifest in a nation, a world community, and a beloved community that is finally at peace with itself. My statement is that I stepped away from the dais with respect because I was concerned about the dollars being spent again on special groups, which seems to be never ending.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Wow. So I have a sinus infection, so I just want to, so I sound really stuffy. Plus, it's been kind of emotional. I would like to thank all of you for showing up here and for stating how you feel. I think that's important. I would like to start by saying that I feel incredibly lucky and blessed that in my life it has exposed me to a variety of cultures and ways to live, and it has made me, I think, a more understanding person, a more inclusive person. And I know, I have to look at what other people's upbringings are and maybe their different exposures and education and see where they're coming from. But for me personally, being an Afro-Puerto Rican and having lived in many various countries, different languages, different cultures, different perspectives on just how people live, from experiencing homelessness to also, and it's not something that I say because it's never come up, but my son is gay. So I kid you not, just a couple of weeks ago, he had a bottle of soda thrown at him, and the F-A-G word was yelled at him as well. So from that perspective, as Councilmember Burns said, she has a child who she will love no matter what. I have a love for my child no matter what. But all of that aside, it goes back to hearing the things that I heard tonight coming from you as an elected official. If I put aside my personal experiences and my lived experiences, which is why I wanted to be on council in the first place. I am a connector. I love connecting to people with different perspectives. And I try to be very unbiased when I listen to other perspectives. But I represent all of you. I feel like there's a very strong Ward 4, like raise your hand if you're Ward 4. There was quite a few Ward 4 people that showed up. I was elected by you to serve you, to represent all people, no matter their perspectives, no matter their visions. But on council, our strategic plan says it. I won't quote it. I was going to quote, I had all these notes, but Councilmember Goff already read it. Our strategic plan says this is one of our goals, diversity and inclusivity. And, I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I circled this because I heard ugly guesses was something that a resident said, ugly guesses. So if we leave that gap, of course it's going to be filled, and we don't understand why. I had so many things to say, but I did find a quote, and I feel like this is what we should embody on council, and it's a really silly quote. I think it's from preschool. We may all be different fish, but at this school we swim together. So we're in the same ocean, right? We have to take care of that ocean. We all swim together, even if we're different fish.
And as elected officials, that is extremely important. Where we sit on this dais with our personal beliefs, I think we should have the ability to say what we believe. I do believe that. But when it comes to something that we know we're representing all of our residents, we need to stand together unified. Whether it's something we agree with personally for whatever reasons our upbringing brought us or whatever our preconceived notions are, I can't blame anybody for that. But you also have the duty to learn, to grow, to be more inclusive, to take on the perspective of other people. And that is definitely something I've learned just in my life. My mother quit 8th grade because she was bullied due to racism, called a spick, black spick. And I say that, it's a hard word, those are hard words to say, and other words that I'm not gonna repeat. But that was my perspective. I was raised by a mother who had an 8th grade education. And so I don't take my spot on this dais for granted, ever. There's not a single second that I don't take for granted sitting here on this dais. And that is all I have to say, because it does pain me. And political beliefs and ideologies, and whether you're unaffiliated or, none of that should matter here. It doesn't matter here at this level. At this level of office, we represent the people, the school that we should all swim together in. It's really tough. As other council members have said, I've lost sleep because, I don't like the feeling of this, and the word censure seems to have all this connotation. And trust me, it's been really, really difficult. But hearing and looking at your faces and hearing these statistics and, and knowing that it exists, my son got stuff thrown at him and words spewed at him just for being different, for having a different, point of view, different way of living. That's not okay. And I don't know that those were the intentions here. Ugly guesses. It's just not okay. But what I do know is that all aside, I'm here to represent you, and I'm hearing what you're saying. And so I was leaning towards one, but it sounds like from a perspective of legally, to make it just have a little bit more teeth, it should be two. That is all I have to say. Sorry for that rant.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. I was just informed that Councilmember Walker is on the phone, or he is dialed in some way. I'm not quite sure when he joined us. He reached out to the city manager and asked for his moment. So Councilmember Walker.
Thank you. Forgive me for being tardy. We had a family emergency this afternoon. I joined a little bit before Ms. Celeste Jackson spoke, but please rest assured that I will go back and listen to all the residents who came and spoke, and thank you for coming. As far as this matter goes, I have no comment on this tonight. Thank you.
It is my turn. I do have a statement prepared, but I wanted to, first of all, thank all of you that came. Really, really appreciate it. We know that it's hard. And thank you for those that stayed. I see some of our beautiful yard winners have stayed with us tonight, and I do appreciate that. And I think it is really important, to Councilmember Goff's point, typically there's no one out there. So it is lovely to see you, but also just to encourage you to come back and to stay engaged with us, I think would be great. A couple moments of clarification. So before I begin, I want to start by saying that the LGBTQ community is not a special interest group. I want to make that really clear. That is not what they are. And as far as stepping away because of the finances for it, Councilmember Long, you mentioned that you met with Heather and Corey, but you never discussed your concerns with council. So every single meeting, we have a moment of communications where council can bring forward their concerns, their questions. You could have brought that forward many times, and that was never raised with us. It was never a public conversation. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that. So this situation has really weighed heavily for the past few weeks, and I do believe it's appropriate to consider this publicly. With regards to the Pride Proclamation that was read on June 5th, that night, I commented that the actions taken by council members Walker and Long would speak more loudly than words. And I am very dismayed that they didn't use words to express themselves that night. I was out of town for the 12th. I did watch the meeting and I heard the comments in response to the First Sentinel article. And concurring with our residents, the responses actually made me feel worse. The lions and lambs and sheep, or whatever that meant, just did not sit well. I felt like, once again, that was an opportunity, Councilmember Long, for you to say that it was about the finances. That was the moment to say I was concerned about the cost of the Pride event. And that was a missed opportunity on that night. I agree with many of the comments that have been shared tonight, but my concern is less the fact that my personal values and beliefs differ from these gentlemen, because that's likely to happen. We're all different in this world, and that's allowable. But my concern is the lack of council decorum and professionalism displayed by walking out and not speaking their minds. Council protocols and House rules were not upheld, and that is my concern. We as a body of 9 will frequently disagree and are not likely to hold the same beliefs and values 100% of the time. It is important that we follow the agreements set out in our governing documents to lead this city effectively. I do believe it's important to take us back to the words in the proclamation, as Councilmember Goff did as well. I did receive one voicemail from a resident that was highly offended to see a photo of me on the back of the connection that was taken at the Pride event from 2021. This resident used hate speech and discriminatory language. He did not express true concern, nor did he provide feedback that could be considered in this debate. The issue is about inclusivity, kindness, and creating a safe and welcoming environment for our residents and our staff. So I want to acknowledge once again the North Glen Next group, the group of our city staff. They're not present tonight, but their feelings and their beliefs are held. We all received that email, and I was so thankful that they shared that, and I do believe that needs to be considered here today. Colorado law prohibits discrimination based on gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation. The City of North Glen supports policies, practices, and programs that honor and respect the LGBTQ community. If we have council members that disagree with the inclusive community we have worked hard to create in North Glen, then I encourage them to speak their truth. Say what you need to say, follow the council protocols, House rules, by supporting the direction that has been set forth in this city, a city that I am proud to live in. Of the 3 options set forth tonight, I believe we cannot do nothing. I support a censure of council members Long and Walker to serve as a reminder that we serve a larger community and not ourselves. A reminder that if we disagree with a policy or direction that is being taken, that we maintain professional decorum when taking action. I recommend censure in the form of a resolution. So, Councilmember Kondo, you mentioned you wanted me to circle back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I I appreciate the opportunity to hear perspectives from everybody. And where I sit here is, first of all, I do want to thank Councilmember Long for explaining the rationale behind your actions. I do feel like there was a lot of time and energy spent trying to figure that out. And now you finally come forward, which I very much appreciate. But it's created a lot of angst, sleepless nights, not only for us here on the days, but I imagine for everybody out there, whether you're a resident or a member of the North Glen City staff. And as I listen to the whole of this, I definitely agree with you, Madam Mayor, that perhaps maybe the transgression is really not following council protocol or home rule, or house rules, not home rules. I don't know why I got home rules stuck on my head. House rules. But the other thing is, I want to figure out how to foster goodwill and amenity, if I'm pronouncing that word correctly, so that we could start to heal the 9 of us. And my gut is telling me that a formal declaration or a written resolution may be a little bit too extreme. I would definitely weigh in on option number 1, which is a verbal censure. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So according to my notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have at least 5 for option 2, and 2 more. You were at a 1 or a 2, and you're at a 1. So I believe we have enough to move forward with the resolution. Corey, do you have the information you need from us to move forward?
I do. I will use the language that's been received tonight to do my best to put together a resolution for your consideration.
Okay, and we will get that on June 24th?
July 24th, yes.
July 20, I've gone back in time. Yes, July 24th, that will be our next regular meeting where we will vote on that resolution.
Correct.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, we are going to move into council communications, which is typically where we share things, committees that we've attended, meetings that we've attended, things that are coming up, a little more council business. And so again, I will circle back to Councilmember Burns.
Hey, thank you to everyone who came. I know it's late, so I'll let everyone take their leave.
Now we'll go to our normal council
Yeah.
attendance.
Oh, come on, the rest isn't boring?
Yeah.
Stay, don't leave us.
Oh, well, yeah. Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I know, all right.
Okay.
Councilmember Burns.
Yeah, so it's been a long 3 weeks since we have had the chance to sort of meet and like be here. So updating on everyone, we had a wonderful 4th of July picnic. What's the official title, Diana? Festival. Thank you. It was great. It was my first time being able to attend, and a number of us here on the dais were judges for the car show. My grandfather collects antique cars, and so this was a super fun thing for me to do, even though I myself drive a 2006 Toyota RAV4. So it was a great time, great turnout, lots of fun. We also, a few council members here on the dais did a water facility tour, which was very interesting. Next time they have an open house, highly recommend doing that. I didn't get to do the entire tour because I had no bee appointment, but it was delightful, and I will be going back to complete the tour after I give birth, I guess. I also want to take time to acknowledge the flooding that happened on July 4th as well to Ward 1 residents. A number of my residents reached out to me, and thank you so much to our staff, specifically Heather, who went and spoke to everybody and is really going the extra mile to make sure that our residents are taken care of. We'll have more on that next week, so please do reach out. But thank you so much, Heather. I know I really appreciated it. Our residents really appreciated it. So thank you. I believe that is all of the city items that have happened for me in the last 3 weeks. I hope everyone is staying cool. Oh yeah, Heather, do we have any resources for the heat wave this week? Sorry if that was putting you on the spot.
It's okay. What I will do is I'll work with staff, specifically Diana. Typically when we have high temperatures like what's expected, you think about potential impacts to Xcel Energy. So also work with police department and and see what additional steps we can take to monitor and really just have a pulse on, so our assisted living facilities, make sure, power outages are typically like the thing that will happen during these extreme heats that concern us greatly. So I'll talk with the team tomorrow and figure out what we can do to make sure, number one, to push out information, but two, to make sure we have our bases covered and keeping a pulse on ensuring that our residents are safe and community members as a whole.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And I think that is my general update. Thanks. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Walker, are you still with us?
Yes.
you have any-
Just wanted to say thank you to our police officers, over 99% of the force who stayed and served on our 4th of July festival. Thank you for getting up your holiday and your time with your families. Also, I want to reach out to the residents of Ward 1 who experienced the flooding and let you know that we're doing everything we can to help you. I look forward to working with you towards a resolution. There's quite a few other laundry list items that need to be addressed with the city, but I will do that in person at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
So I took advantage of all those weeks off, and I actually went camping. I went to California, and I spent a lot of time in the sun. But I did do some government stuff too. We had at Ward 2, we had our I'm going to call it the Gov and Go because that's what it was last year. We had the food trucks, our band, and T-Mobile was there to discuss their process of putting in the new internet cabling in Ward 2. So that went over really well. That went really good. The band was awesome. The food was awesome. We have had some issues with T-Mobile and the installation of the new internet in Ward 2 that we are working through so that the residents in Ward 2 understand that. We understand that there have been some issues with yard work, and I had an issue at my own home where my gate was left open and my dogs ran away. So we are working with T-Mobile to make sure that they tie all their loose ends and that they continue to move forward in a more positive nature. I would like to request of either Heather or Diana that we let T-Mobile know that although we appreciated the doorknob holders that came out and said you're going to see us in the neighborhood that came out at the beginning of June, as they move through the neighborhood, those residents have forgotten that they got this door hanger or they didn't look at it. So I don't know if you're getting the same calls, Jay, but I'm getting the calls of what are they doing on my street? You know, is it the city? What's the city doing? And the direct thought is, oh, the city's going to come through and do something to the street. So we need to make sure that they're more aware that maybe as they go through a section of the ward, that it would be better to notify those people. Because we really didn't know, in all honesty, that they were going to do the boring on Claude Court until we had problems with the residents. So I would like that to be communicated from them a little bit more. I went to CML, and it was my farewell tour, so it was really great to meet with all my old friends. I met some new friends, and it was an awesome experience. There were great speakers. The entire time I enjoyed my dinner with Catherine Works. She missed you, Corey. It was just a really good time to connect and get to see everybody that I've been working with for so long. I really did enjoy that. So I thank you very much. That's it.
Councilmember Harris?
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the neighborhood night out with Councilmember Brown, and it was great to see some community members, neighbors, and yeah, like she said, awesome music, awesome food. So it was a great time, and it was nice weather for all the rain we had.
Right.
We finally had a dry night, so that was great. And then on the week of June 26th, I attended CML as well. And I really enjoyed the keynote speaker. His name was Sam Glenn, I believe. It was really cool component about it. I'll get to what he's talking about, but he was doing live art during his speech, or what's that? What would you call that?
Presentation.
Presentation's probably good.
But like motivational kind of speaking
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really spoke to me too. It was cool. He did a bald eagle. It was awesome. I'm an artist myself, so I supported him, bought some of his art. So, but some of the words that he really resonated with me was attitude changes everything. Our attitude elevates our altitude. So I thought those are some words that really, that I think that we could all live by. And I think that's something great that we could all apply to our lives. I attended a series of the Hispanic Heritage meetings with Commissioner Lynn Baca. So we're going to be having what's called, I think it's Festival Latino. It's going to be happening at the Adams County. They changed the name. I think it used to be called the Fairgrounds. I think they changed the name, but I call it the Fairgrounds because I've lived here since the 90s. So, so that's been really good. Is building that rapport with our council commissioners. Also on the 4th, I did the car show, and then we got to see our fireworks too after that crazy rain we had. So that really uplifted a lot of spirits, and for some of my friends here in my ward and in Ward 3 as well. We got to get together, so that was really awesome. Also attended the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation monthly meeting and did our long-term plan that we wrapped it up. So got some more direction there. Then we did the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation sculpture tour, which I recommend that you can reach out to the seniors organization, and they do tours. You can cruise all around and see all the sculptures. But we looked at prospective sites as well throughout Northglenn. Let's see. And then also on July 6th, we hosted the outside agency funding, and we are allocating $2,500 to CASA, $2,500 to Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble, and $1,500 to Ralston House. And that's all I have for now. And thank you.
Councilmember Gall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go all the way back to June 14th. The CC4CA legislative group met, and we just had updates of, what had happened in this past session. And we're going to try to meet more during this summer than we usually do to try to plan for the next legislative session. And then June 25th through the 28th was the CML conference, I guess you would call it, which was very enlightening. There were a lot of, I attended several workshops that had to do with housing, homelessness, and anything along that line. And then I thought we had a meeting of the Minds Luncheon Forum, and we had people from all over the state and all over the political spectrum. Mike Kaufman, mayor of Aurora, John Hickenlooper, Rachel Medino's mayor of the city of Cortez, Yemi Mobilade, I think is how you pronounce his name, from the city of Colorado Springs, and Laura Weinberg, mayor of the city of Golden. And then really and of course, our own council member, Shannon Lukman Hiromasa, did a presentation called Awareness, Avoidance, and Action. So that was really interesting to go through and listen to her do that. So kudos. And then a science-based approach to inclusive leading was a very interesting one that maybe we can even bring to our council at some point, but we'll see. And then on June 30th, I did tour our two water plants, both the clean water plant and the stinky one. And so that was very informative. And I just want to say, thank you so much to our staff. We should be really proud of our staff. I mean, they work really hard. They're so well-trained, and they're always thinking like years ahead. So we've got a lot of projects and plans for the future that I really don't think that we're going to have to worry about water like some of our neighboring communities will. And then on July 4th, the car show and the fireworks was just amazing. And again, I want to thank all of our staff, the police, all the police department. You guys were all out there, and our staff. And then that horrible rain that people had to work through. And then we had our fireworks afterwards. So thank you so much. And let's see, July 6th was the outside agency funding meeting. And that's it. I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Condo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also attended CML, and will just echo basically some of the things that were said previously. I will tell you, there were two breakout sessions that I thought were lasting impressions for me. One was healing our politics, mental health in the public space, which I think is probably something that we need greatly. when I say we, I mean all politicians. And then the second one was given by the Thornton Police Chief, and I know Chief May is here. I'm sorry, I'm giving him some kudos, but very great speaker. I think he was the police chief for the city of Madison in Wisconsin, and he talked about leadership in crisis. And he said there's two different kinds of crises. You got the Katrinas, you know, where it just comes down like a ton of bricks. And then you got the slow burning crisis that's kind of like a slow moving train wreck. And I just felt like sitting there, I learned a lot. And I often thought about a lot of the things that I was listening to how that applies to us. And certainly I hope that for those of us who were in those sessions, we'll think about those things that we learned at the Gaylord Hotel. It was a very nice venue. Second item, I feel like I should have a new nickname now. I'm going to call myself Aquaman, because also at the CML tour, I did the mobile tour of Aurora's waterworks. Interesting, couple factoids. Aurora has 400,000 residents, so it's about 10 times bigger than we are. Their annual budget is $120 million. It's almost as big as North Glen City's budget, $125 million per annum. And they process somewhere around 20 million gallons per day on a nominal basis. And you heard me talk about earlier this evening about how important it is to keep the waterworks going. And it's true. And that's the reason why I worked with Kent Kisselman, Jason Hensel, and Manuel, I'm going to botch the pronunciation of his last name, Fryer, to pull together a tour. And I want to thank council members Burns, Goff, and Long for joining me. We actually, for the wastewater plant tour, we had representatives from North Metro Fire Rescue District toured the wastewater piece, and I think that's really important because I believe there's something in the works where they may want to tie into our sewer at some point. So it's good. And the other thing, of course, is their training center is just on the other side of the fence. So for them to know, you know, the North Glen sort of odoriferous odor that's coming across, they know where that's coming. And then my last is I would like to acknowledge the passing of Don Woods. He was a sanitation worker at the M&O facility. I will tell you a story. I'm embarrassed about this. I'll probably never live it down. But in 2014, I took my dad's Ford truck to drop off yard waste. And I probably was not very good in keeping good care of that truck. And it actually caught on fire. I think it was a 2-engine fire that I caused. I'm sure I'm not going to live it down with North Metro Fire either. But Don was there, and he was one of the first responders, came out with a fire extinguisher. Also, Don was wise enough to tell me that for my new vehicle, I should buy a fleet vehicle because, you know, the cities and states take very good care of their fleet vehicles, and you're less likely to have your truck catch on fire, especially at the M&O building or facility. But he was a really special guy. And I saw him every weekend. So I just wanted to mention his name and recognize his contributions to the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Long.
On June 14th, Chief May conducted the swearing-in of 10 new police officers, and I really was impressed that he took the time to have a personal bio on each and every one of them. There were family and friends in the audience, and it was very, very touching and tearful. And I'm so proud of what has taken place at the police department for the recruitment they've done, the training they've done, and to see these bright, shining faces coming forward to be there, to provide the safety that we really, really need in this community, my opinion. Smiles all around with proud parents and spouses. I think that Chief May should receive a little medal for doing such a fine job of being the MC and again, as I said, talking about each and every one of them as if they were one of his sons or daughters. So thank you for that. Also, there's another half dozen tech support and assistance staff that were also sworn in, which is again, very, very necessary and needed to deliver the kind of service we need in our police department. On June 29th, I attended the Executive Council of the Adams County Regional Economic Partnership. There was representation there from Shannon Bird, on the state legislature, and Ken Mussa, who's the county assessor for Adams County. Both of them gave a very accurate and detailed presentation on the property tax valuation and what we're up against, and especially when they're saying that Governor Polis will come out with Plan 2.0, coming up in the next general session. We talked a lot about business advocacy and public policy as the strategic pillars going forward for the Adams County Economic Partnership. And we had a very detailed, extensive overview of everything that took place in the legislature this last year, which was pretty impressive. We got a great group of lobbyists working for the Adams County as well. On June 30th, thanks to Councilman Kondo for setting it all up and making the coordination work with everybody's busy schedules, we toured the water treatment center, the water treatment plant, and my eyes were open, to be perfectly honest, because I heard a lot of the statements being made by the staff, and I think kudos are given to the city manager for having turned things around, because the statements being made was leadership is finally paying attention to the city, to the needs that we have. And again, as Councilwoman Goff has accurately said, they are thinking ahead into the future. And they're planning for the future, 3 to 5 years out, even 10 years out. And again, kudos, but we need to keep them resourced, supported with renovations and things that I saw personally with my own eyes that maybe they didn't want it to be talked about, but you can't help but see it with the subtle walkthrough of seeing everything they've got there and all the replacements they're going to be planning for. So come budget time, I'm going to be looking forward to giving them as much as we can find affordable. It was a firsthand experience. It was a full morning. We also went out to Section 36 where we have the sewage treatment facility, having been part of North Metro Fire Rescue District for 12 years. I've always wanted to tour that place. We always wanted to go up there, but somehow we were never able to schedule it. So again, thank you, Councilman Kondo, for making that happen. Again, another eye-opening experience to see what really is taking place and how close we are sometimes to disasters. But they seem to be resilient, and as been said, they're very well trained. I think we need more of them, in my personal opinion, taking a look, putting on my management hat. But again, that's again coming up for budgetary considerations. So, thank you. Lastly, I want to say, Madam Mayor, I want to compliment you on showing restraint and not using the gavel in tonight's exchanges. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It has been a very long 3 weeks, and it definitely feels that way. Going back to the middle of June, I also attended the swearing-in, which was one of the biggest I heard in possibly decades, with 10 new officers and police record specialists, admin specialists, and victim advocate specialists getting sworn in. So I'm pretty excited to see that, we're working our way towards getting fully staffed in our PD, and that's extremely important with this round of awesome new people that are joining the department. So I'm very proud of that and very excited for our police department and our community. On, June 21st, I attended the Business Retention and Expansion Committee meeting, and it was to work through the nomination process for the upcoming Business Appreciation Awards. So MUM is still the word, but I'm very excited to see the quality of the businesses that will be represented, because our small businesses are our backbone in our community, and it's extremely important that we continue to support them and acknowledge them. And celebrate them, which is what the Business Appreciation event is for. I attended the CML conference along with fellow council members, and it's always such a great experience to get to meet and talk to and learn about what other local elected officials are doing in their cities, cities that are comparable to us in size, cities that are, rural resort areas, small communities, and the biggest thing that I took away from that is that we all face the same challenges, and we're all facing the same problems. They're maybe represented in a different microcosm, depending on, which community you're from. But it all boils down to the same things that we're fighting for. And speaking of that, I won a spot on the CML, the Colorado Municipal League Executive Board. So that is a huge deal. I'm very excited, thank you, to represent North Glen in the medium population category, as well as other cities and towns that are in that category and the whole state as a whole. So policy and legislation has become extremely important to me in the last year, especially with ongoing legislation coming down the pipe hole again in 2024, probably circling back to land use, which we'll be talking about tonight. So all of these things make me very honored and proud to represent North Glen on that committee. And I also got to present, which was a little nerve-wracking, and I appreciate those of you that showed up. I think it went very well, so I'm excited to hear feedback when that comes my way. I attended July 4th Festival, car show, awards. It's always great. Thank you to our PD, because I know they didn't get their day off with their families to make sure that event was fully staffed. It went off without a hitch, as far as I know. Everybody was safe, no major incidents, and that is 100% thank you to our police department for that, and city staff, of course, for all the incredible hard work that goes into an event like that. My grandkids came along, and we had a blast as well. And the last thing that I attended is the Hispanic Heritage meetings. So I missed a couple because of CML, and then I was attending a wedding. I did attend the last one, and as Councilmember Jaramillo said, it's very incredible to also be a part of that, and the first Hispanic Heritage event of its kind in Adams County. So that is a joy to be a part of as well and hear what is happening. I feel like I had something else to add to that. I was bummed to miss the water and wastewater treatment facility tour because I was at a wedding for my niece in Washington. However, I did tour those facilities back in 2021. I know there's been some updates, and highly recommend it for other council members. And I'll do it again if the opportunity presents itself. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have a list, but I'm going to try not to repeat things that have already been shared. However, I do want to take another moment and celebrate Don Woods and his contributions to the city. Yes, he connected with many of us, but I know the city staff is grieving right now, and just to hold them in our hearts. CCPP, we had our final retreat, and we have our first meeting tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. I've had a couple meetings to plan the state of the city. That is next week. So make sure it's on your calendar. Get pumped up and ready to go. It's going to be awesome. Just a plug for that, July 20th, 5:30 to 8:30. It's going to be a great time. Council members, if you want to come at 4:45-ish, you can kind of gather with some of our regional partners ahead of the event. So that'll be really fun. And I did attend the volunteer dinner. It was raining, but we gave out umbrellas, so it was perfect. We had North Glen umbrellas, and we had some food trucks, and it was really nice to celebrate our volunteers. I did go to the Nugget celebration, go Nuggets, that was really fun. CML, the highlights for me are the regionalism. So we definitely have all of the sessions, and we get to learn, but it's really about connecting with our colleagues in other municipalities and learning from them. There's a lot of mayor events where I get to kind of talk to my colleagues and in a different setting to kind of figure out, what they're focusing on and what's new. So that regionalism is really important. We had a really important meeting with Excel Energy to express concerns that we have about projects in the city, as well as some residential concerns. And so it was really important to have set aside time with just North Glen and just Excel to really make that connection. Shouting out Shannon, I was going to say, yes, congrats to Shannon for winning her seat, but also for presenting. That was a really big deal. Had a Metro Mayor's Caucus executive session or executive committee meeting, and I will be joining the Housing and Mobility Forum, so I'll keep you updated on that. 4th of July, a couple highlights for me, the car show. My 16-year-old had his own car in the show for the first time, and that was really fun. He had a good time. I want to thank staff. Oh my goodness. They work so hard and they are everywhere and responsive and helping residents and making sure the program was flawless. And it was a job well done for sure. And also a shout out to the American Legion. We love partnering with them. And so they're always a part of these events, whether it's Veterans Day. They will be also a part of the State of the City next week. So if you happen to come, seek them out and thank them for their partnership in our community. They are just a lovely group. I had a fun surprise. I got to have breakfast with my predecessor. Mayor Antonio Escobar was in town.
Oh my God.
And I got just a few minutes of his time, and he and I had breakfast, and it was lovely just to catch up on, his life in Utah and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren. I know he swung by City Hall as well, and it was just a lovely moment in my week. I got to do the chat with the chief today. That was super fun. Shout out to Chief May. He's becoming quite the, I don't know. You're going to have a new career. Yeah, you're going to have a new career as a journalist, perhaps. But it was very fun to just sit there and have coffee and chat with the chief. So look for that on social media. And then a quick shout out for the outside agency. I want to thank you for your contribution to the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Company. That goes to their #1 fundraising event. It's their Dancing with the Denver Stars Gala. I am one of the Denver Stars, and I'm terrified. And so I will be dancing in front of 350 people. North Glen does have a table, which is great. But I hate to ask this, but if you could leave your spouses at home, then more people can come. Because it's a small table, but it would just be great. I would love to have all of you there because I need moral support. I'm very scared. I took a hip hop class at the gym and I watched myself in the mirror and I was like, oh, I lost some confidence in that, but I'm going to keep at it. My first official rehearsal with my dancer is tomorrow, so wish me luck.
And when is the event?
August 12th. Yes, August 12th. And so it's a great event. It's not about me. I just happen to be nervous about my participation. It is about their arts and education programming, and that does benefit many, many children in North Glen. So I'm excited about that. Okay, I think I came to the end of my list. Joanna, any updates from you?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have 2 items. The first one is a letter that was received from a couple residents, and this is recognizing Councilmember Walker. I've been asked to read it, so I will try to read it quickly here. So this is dated June 27th, 2023. Dear Ms. Geyer, my family has lived in North Glen for 44 years, and we reside near 104th and Lincoln Court. Our home backs up to the ramp leading to I-25 going north. Several weeks ago, I reached out to our council member for Ward 1, Nicholas Walker, about several issues that need to be addressed. Nicholas met us at our home, and we were able to show him the problems we are having. The hillside behind our home has trash all over the area, including glass bottles, needles, cans, mattresses, and much more trash. We believe homeless encampments are hidden also in the area. Nicholas climbed over our 6-foot chain link fence to the hillside with trash bags and began to clean up some of the debris. He filled 4 large trash bags with as much as he could and was going to ask maintenance to finally follow up and clean the remainder of the hillside. We also pointed out about people speeding on Garland Drive south to 104th Street from the Studio School all the way up to 104th Avenue. There is one stop sign in the church behind the Studio School and a traffic sign that only works during school hours. It is very dangerous to approach Grant Street when cars are going at least 40 miles per hour to get to 104th Avenue. We suggested putting a 4-way stop sign on Grant to at least slow the traffic down. We also would like to see the existing traffic sign working at all times. Nicholas assured us that he was going to address these issues and try to obtain a resolution at the next council meeting. We would appreciate that you would recognize Nicholas at the next council meeting for his outstanding effort and concern to make this area safer and cleaner for the residents here in North Glen. We realize there are many other issues that take precedence over ours, but we appreciate Nicholas taking the time to listen to our concerns. Thank you, Louis and Maria Schimpf. And then the second item I have is just another reminder for the election coming up November 7th, 2023. For anybody interested in running for city council, there is information on the city's website. The candidate guidelines are available online. We also have printed packets available in the city clerk's office. There's somebody always in the office. Anybody can stop in, pick up a packet. If you have any questions, just feel free to give us a call, send us an email, or pop in. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager Guyer.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have several updates for you and the community this evening. I'd first like to express my condolences to the family of Don Woods. It is very tough to lose an employee here at the City of North Glen. Don's son Cameron is a park seasonal worker with us this summer, and so Human Resources will be reaching out to his wife Kathy and his son, and we'll do what we can to support them. Thank you for your thoughts, prayers, love. Please continue to send it their way. I think he's an example of an employee who connected with so many in the community, took great pride in his role here at the City of North Glen, and made an effort to make a difference in the lives of so many every single day. And we're fortunate to have employees like Don throughout our organization, and so please send love their way in the days ahead. In terms of, I'll ditto the comments about the hard work of staff on the 4th of July for that festival. It's an all hands on deck event. We will bring back a post-event report to council at some point. I don't know if it'll be July 24th. It may be early August. Fortunately, there were no major incidents, but there were things that happened and lessons learned, as with every event. And so we'll also debrief with council what fireworks citations look like, and, you know, call volume and those sorts of questions that I know residents have. We did send out, Deputy Chief sent out the first safety sensitive zone report for the month of June. As you recall, we launched these 4 zones in early June and started enforcement. So that report was sent out on Friday via email. Please review that report, send questions to myself, Chief, Deputy Chief. Deputy Chief is at a training for the next 3 weeks, but the goal is to make sure that this report is useful, valuable to you in communicating to residents the steps we are taking to do enforcement within the zones. So please provide us with feedback. Based on the letter that was shared and the thank you to Councilmember Walker, I do want to add that that particular situation has really raised the concern that we as a city cannot rely on the Colorado Department of Transportation to do cleanup of areas that they own along the I-25 corridor. So internally, in response to not only that issue, but we heard it tonight from a resident of Ward 4, Amanda, Jessica, several others of us will be touring that area, for lack of a better way to say it, along the I-25 corridor on both. It's typically on the east side of I-25, given the positioning of homes. And I've talked with Jessica Holtz, our crew program supervisor, about adding those areas to her and her staff's weekly drive-throughs, walkthroughs. So they spend quite a bit of time at E.B. Raines Park monitoring the tunnel, but then adding this section of the I-25 corridor. And then there will be conversations that I'll need to have with staff internally about figuring out what steps we take with CDOT. So please know that's underway, and there will be more to come on that. We did have significant flooding at the Justice Center last Tuesday evening, given the heavy downpour of rain we experienced. So staff is working with our insurance provider, Sursa, in response to that damage and the steps we need to take to rectify that situation. I do have a couple fun reports. Well, one last one. I did email council about, unfortunately, Tammy has not been able to get Lowe's to commit, our local Lowe's store to commit to providing a lawnmower rebate, electric lawnmower rebate this year. So she's going to, I emailed council about this afternoon. She's going to connect with Becky Smith, try to see if we can get into the RAC, the Regional Air Quality Council program for this year. If not, we're looking at a 2024 implementation for the program. And the reason from Lowe's is that they've put on hold their community programs given staffing transition and their inability to be able to support local community programs right now. So that's disappointing news, but staff will try to make an attempt to see if we can't, create a program this year. So stay tuned on that. A few things from Parks and Recreation. The Senior Center is holding a pedal boat race at Webster Lake this Wednesday at 9 a.m. So if you have not been out on the lake on a pedal boat, they're super fun. So feel free to join the event, cheer on the racers. It is Parks and Recreation Month, so there's various activities happening throughout the month, including a free night at Kiwanis Pool this Thursday, July 13th from 5 to 8 p.m. And then free pedal boats at Memorial Park, EB Range Junior Memorial Park, on Tuesday, July 25th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. A couple other, one more update for you, and then I'm done, I promise. Single tickets are now on sale for the 2023-24 Northglenn Arts Present season, which begins in September. 13 shows represent diverse storytelling from America, Afghanistan, India, Ireland, Mexico, and more. Council members receive 2 complimentary tickets to the theater each year, so please reach out to Michael Stricker to reserve a ticket or go online to purchase additional tickets. So that is all I have, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
City Attorney Hoffman, welcome back to the country.
Thank you.
Ooh la la.
I'm trying desperately to stay awake. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Just briefly, it seems like a lifetime ago because I did go overseas in the interim, but I did go to the CML conference as well. And for council's purposes, I'm probably a couple weeks behind in terms of getting you some of the legislative updates that I will get you following the CML conference, because as is the case after every legislative session, there are surprises embedded in that session that we learn at the conference. And so I will be getting you various updates over the next couple of weeks on things that affect Northglenn directly.
And how did none of us mention the governor's lunch? That had quite an impact. I had a question, Heather, for the safety zones. I noticed, because I had a question about it, I went back. We haven't really communicated those on social media or the city's website since March. Can we push that out
Do more?
again?
Absolutely.
Okay. In a
We can
more,
do that.
like, be aware kind of thing. Councilmember Kondo?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I did have one other item, and that was, and I forget when that was, if it was Thursday, the 29th, but the North Area Fire Academy had their graduation ceremony at the D.L. Parsons Theater. They still call it Parsons Project, I don't know why. But it was oversubscribed. I think they probably violated fire code because there were more people than the theater capacity. But there were 5 fire departments that graduated, I'm going to say 35 or 36 new firefighters. North Metro, I believe, had 5 or 7. But Brighton was in there, Adams County, Westy and Thornton, saw the mayor of Thornton as well as the mayor pro tem. And so again, I think this just underscores how important the theater and the rec center are. I call it the crown jewel of North Glen. And it certainly was an eye-watering moment to see some very young men and women and people of different ethnic and gender orientation graduating, and to see their little children actually pinning the badge on. And it makes you think about the fact that these men, women are going into harm's way. And it makes me well up thinking, I just pray to God that nobody passes or dies in the line of duty. And I'm sure Councilmember Long, you have experienced that. So certainly, I will turn to you for some advice, I think, on how to manage that
I don't think you want to
emotion.
come to me for advice anymore, not with a parliamentarian stepping forward like she does.
Well, I still respect you a great deal, but the fact of the matter is, we did have this event, North Metro did, North Area Firefighters Association did, and it was very well done. So thank you to the Parks and Rec staff and everybody who supported that evolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving into the financial report. Thank you to our interim deputy city manager, Jason Loveland, for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of council. This is the May monthly financial report. I'm going to cruise through this. We have a full meeting behind us, so I'm going to kind of go through. But please stop me with any questions. First update, we'll circle back to sales and use tax later on, but this update, specific to sales and use tax, through the month of May, so that's through April's collections, up 5.7% as compared to 2022. Details in that number, auto use tax is up about 8%, food tax is up a little over 6%, and then marijuana tax, we've been keeping track of, down about 12.5% on the year. So overall, sales and use tax being up over 5% is quite positive. In kind of more normal years, if you go back looking 10, 20 years, somewhere between 3 and 4% is kind of the norm. So 5% is outpacing those numbers. In the general fund, on revenue, on page 2, total revenue is up just slightly over 4%. You'll see about a third of the way through the page, total taxes are flat on the year. The big piece of that is for use tax, which is from our construction use tax that we've talked about as we compare year over year. But overall taxes are at $9.3 million. And then total revenues in the general fund at 12.9. Really nothing too out of the ordinary. There's some timing differentials on certain line items, and then just ups and downs of grant revenues year over year. So nothing out of the ordinary to report on general fund revenues through May. On the expenditure side, very similar. Nothing out of the ordinary to report. You'll see that total expenditures are up about 8% comparing year over year. The budget is actually 9% greater, so we'd expect expenditures to actually be slightly higher. The second highlighted column, kind of in the middle of the page, the spending rate, we're at 41% of the way through the year. You'll see overall expenditures are at 36% spend rate. So again, in line with the plan for budget expenditures in the general fund, and nothing out of the ordinary to report in May versus what has been reported the last couple months for spending in that fund. Skipping ahead to the water fund, we touched on this, wondering what our consumption was going to be. And doing a great job. We're down 7% consumption is through May, so thank you, Mother Nature. So we're seeing some savings on that side. Total revenues are at $4.5 million and expenditures of 6.1 operationally. So total revenues are actually down year over year about 6%. You'll see that specifically in that first revenue line item titled water charges. One piece of that, about $840,000 of the decrease of $890 in total, is due to tap connection fees with Carl's Farm development occurring in 2022. But overall, like I said, consumption being down 7%, we're going to see a reduction in revenues on that side. Let's see. On the expenditure side, operating expenditures are at 38%, which goes back to the 41% tracking on the operation side. And then there's more detail on the capital outlay of $3.1 million in the back of the report, but we'll let that lie for now. The wastewater fund, total revenues of $2.2 million and expenditures of 2.1. Again, the one line item that shows wastewater charges, that's down about $88,000 and actually $261,000 from 2022 was related to tap fees. So we're actually seeing some increase in revenue just on the wastewater charges. Total revenue in the wastewater fund is flat overall, and then operating expenditures and total expenditures are in line with budget. The next fund, on the stormwater fund, total revenues of $272,000 and expenditures of $146,000. Stormwater charges, that line item is showing down 17%, or $36,000. $38,000 of that is from one-time fees in 2022 from tap fees. Expenditures in line with total operations and the capital outlay for the stormwater fund. Next fund, the sanitation fund, total revenues of $720,000 and expenditures of $687,000. Total revenues in the sanitation fund are up about 4.5%. Trash charges seen a slight uptick with the development of Carl's Farm. We have more subscribers to the service. And then on the expenditure side, again, solid waste collection, that's kind of the operating side. Spending rate is at 41%. That is all for the funds. I was going to skip ahead a couple of pages to page 11. It's the tax collected by a geographic code. We did add the out-of-state or online information to this report. You'll see that that's now at the top of the report as the biggest contributor, I guess, if you will, of sales tax revenue to the city. Out-of-state or online sales through May, you'll see up 0.8%, so pretty much flat year over year. But you will see in the bar graph at the bottom on the far left side, you'll see 2021 through May, just under $900,000 of online sales. And you'll see that that jumped in 22 and 23 to just over $1.4 million. And really, you can kind of see kind of more of a visual. I've been talking about it for a while, but now you can actually see it, of how those online sales have really impacted the community. So with that, I will stop there. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you. I'm not sure that you can answer this, but I noticed the drop in sales for Washington Point, I guess it is. And is there a way to find out how Safeway is doing? I'm just kind of concerned that that might be reflecting, the state of that whole area.
Party City.
Yeah, I think, so not to share too much about any one individual business, but on Washington Point, I believe the Safeway is doing well. Their sales tax the last time we checked, and I do have staff looking at that for our next meeting for our quarterly update. I'll provide a little bit more information on that. But I believe that they're kind of positive year over year. At least they were a couple of months ago. So we'll get more of an update. I think one of the big players in that area was the Agati on the marijuana side, and we know that that industry has been struggling a little bit. I'm not going to say that that's definitely not accountable for the entire decrease that we're seeing in that area, but I know that that has an impact for area specific.
Has Party City closed?
No. Oh, sorry, I went there.
Oh, you did? Okay, the
Yeah,
new
not
one's
yet.
open. That's why I was wondering when it's
I
going
guess
to be
not.
closed.
Not yet. Well, it was last week,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. On the Washington Point, I noticed that Big O's not there. Isn't that normally included in that?
Catherine, did you have other questions?
No, I just, I'm just curious. I mean, now that you mentioned the marijuana thing, the other area that has dropped, Huron Crossing also has a marijuana business, so that
Yeah.
could explain things.
So we are keeping track of that and wanting to know on a month-to-month basis kind of what some of the big changes are. Last year in August, we implemented a new sales tax software. And so comparatives year over year are a little bit more challenging to dig through and grind out at this time. So we're still working on that. So the timing of like, hey, hit a button and magically know, that's going to be in a couple months. We'll be able to do that again.
Okay.
But we are working on that stuff.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brown?
My answer, my question, actually, though it's in here, really isn't for you. Heather, we haven't had an update on the occupancy at the marketplace in a while. And if we could get some kind of an update on what's going on over there, where we are with occupancy, because I'd heard at one time it was, slated to be occupied at 92%, but I'm not seeing any vast movement to move it up to 92%. So if we can get an update on that, I would really appreciate it.
Sure. Do you want an email update or do you want a council presentation?
An email update would be fine for me.
Okay, yeah, Allison can do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are moving forward, I can tell you that, but they're gonna be slow. Prost right now is looking at mid-October at this point, based on some delays that have occurred, so she'll get you an email tomorrow.
Okay, I would really appreciate that. That was really all I have. I met with the consortium again for marijuana, and you are absolutely right. We're starting to really level out in the taxes, as far as production. They're not opening any more grows open, most businesses aren't, so you're spot on with that.
Councilmember Long?
Just want to compliment you on the comparative you're doing year to year to year. It really does help understand. Thank you,
Great.
Casey.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving into the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Please open the vote.
I like the chorus.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Check mark. There you go, yep.
We'll close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
We have two public hearings tonight. The first one is CB 2004. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for an ordinance amending Section 11-4-6, subsections E and G, and Section 11-8- and Section 11-6-8, subsection C of the North Glen Municipal Code.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 2004. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against CB 2004? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak? You can unmute yourself by pressing *6 at this time. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. The next public hearing, CB 2009. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 18 of the North Glen Municipal Code regarding the new fermented malt beverage and wine license class and to permit tastings at fermented malt beverage and wine retailers.
I I will now open the public hearing on CB 2009. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against CB 2009? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak about CB 2009? You can unmute yourself by pressing *6 at this time. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Ordinances on second reading, CB 2004, the Unified Development Ordinance Amendments. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Brooke is here to provide a summary of this item. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is basically a very straightforward proposed amendment to the UDO. We are proposing to amend the electrical vehicle charging language to be consistent with the recently updated IVCs. We are also adding an alternate member to the Planning Commission membership to basically have someone available in the event that someone is absent. And then lastly, we are providing comprehensive plan language to be consistent with the state statutes. And with that, I'll open up to any questions.
Do not see any questions.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll close that vote, and CB 2004 on second reading passes unanimously.
CB 2009, fermented malt beverage and wine licenses and tasting permits. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Motion to approve.
Second. Okay, Joanna Small, our city clerk, will provide a summary.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So this ordinance is in response to Proposition 125, which was the wine sales in grocery and convenience stores initiative that was passed by voters. It would allow the fermented malt beverage and wine retailers to conduct tastings in their stores, and it would also clean up the municipal code language regarding the references to the fermented malt beverage and wine licenses. So as a result of the questions that were received by council on first reading, we attached a list of all of those regulations for the tastings to the staff memo so that you have those in hand. And just as a reminder, all of the applications for tasting permits have to be submitted to the local liquor licensing authority well in advance of those tasting events. And then any modifications to a tasting event also has to be approved by the local licensing authority. The draft ordinance was presented to the licensing authority, and they recommended approval to council. And I am happy to answer questions about the ordinance.
I do not see any questions. Thank you.
Wait, I didn't get my hang.
Oh, Councilmember Brown.
Joanna, so any liquor store that sells wine or fermented beers can do the tastings, right? Is there anything in here that requires it to be indoors, or can it be indoors and outdoors?
It has to be on their licensed premises.
So it could be-
typically for a retail liquor store, it's indoors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CB 2009 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving to ordinances on first reading, CB 2007. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A bill for a special ordinance rezoning from commercial general, CG, and commercial auto-oriented, CA, to multifamily, RM2, certain real property generally identified as that portion of Tract C, re-subdivision of Lot 1, Block 47, Lots 2 through 39, Block 48, and Blocks 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53, North Glen, fifth filing, per the plat recorded at reception number 807546 in the records of Adams County, lying within the west half of Section 10, Township 2 South, Range 68, west of the 6th Principal Meridian in the City of North Glen, County of Adams, State of Colorado, and amending the zoning map of the City of North Glen.
Well done.
I feel like I should apologize.
Yes, you should. Our Director of Planning and Development is here to provide a summary. Hi, Brooke.
What she said.
Move for approval.
Yeah.
Move for approval.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, after that, we forgot that part.
So very briefly, this is an ordinance considering a rezoning from commercial auto to multifamily. It's a 4.5 acre lot where we'll be proposing 172 unit senior independent living multifamily housing development. We'll be doing a formal presentation at the public hearing. Happy to answer any questions.
Is this where Cakes for Karen was?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, I was gonna. All right, thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CB 2007 on first reading passes unanimously.
We have 3 resolutions tonight. The first one is CR 91. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving amendment number 4 to the construction manager contract between the City of North Glen and FCI Constructors Incorporated for Phase 2 of the North Glen Civic Center project.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, you're back. Hi.
It's the Brooke show tonight.
It is.
So
It is. It definitely
everyone
is.
knows. So just want to take a moment and recognize that we have staff from FCI and also from coming here tonight to help answer any questions you may have. Also, Eric is on vacation, much deserved, so I am substituting for this. But I do want to point out that we are at the final stage of contract scope of services for FCI to complete the project. This is a $26 million project. This last PMG, I believe, is $11 million. And so what we are essentially looking here tonight is to award the last package for the construction of the project. Also want to mention that the final plan set for the building was approved last week, and so we are moving full steam ahead. I do want to also mention that if you take a look on the second page of the staff report, when we look at contingencies, that this budget amount that we're bringing forward to you tonight does not include that contingency. That is above and beyond what we have for this overall project. And with this, it is a very momentous occasion because this is probably the final stage of contracts that we will be bringing forward unless there is an unforeseen condition that brings us to have to come back to you. But otherwise, we are moving forward and we're very excited to be here and happy to answer any questions.
All right, no questions? Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 91 passes unanimously.
CR 95. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of North Glen and C.H. Johnson Consulting Incorporated for the Stonehawker Event Center feasibility study.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, what can you tell us about this one?
Sure. Thank you again, Mayor and Council. Tonight, this is a contract for to do the feasibility study for a potential event center at Stonehawker property. I do want to point out that there are 3 parts to this project: a fiscal market analysis, a site evaluation, as well as a historic resource impact, and then community engagement timeline. One thing I want to be very clear for council is that these are broken up into 3 very specific stages because we have set go, no-go procedural steps into this where we would report back to you. Primarily, if it's not financially, fiscally feasible, we would not perform the remaining balance of the work. So we've met with the consultant, gone over the scope of services. They fully understand that. We had originally estimated that this was a roughly $130,000 project. Johnson Consulting came in at $87,885, and we are recommending approval. We had 3 bids altogether, and they were the top candidate. Also, the Historic Preservation Foundation members were part of the participants in reviewing the proposals. That'll open up to any questions.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So thank you for explaining the 3 phases I guess I'm just trying to understand, you've got 45,000 in phase one. Is there a way to be able to kind of more evenly divide that out, or is it just, the statement of work is there's a large body of heavy lifting going on in that phase?
It is the heavy lifting because where a lot of those dollars are going is going to be in the engagement process with the key stakeholder, which is the foundation, and trying to establish what the expectations, what the function and purpose of this is, and also determine size and scale for the event center. I think that aspirationally, it has been bantied about for over a decade about what this is intended to look like. The question is does the size of the expectation meet the need, and does it make sense? And so it's an iterative process. They're also gonna go out and do the market research to see what the service demand is for this type of use based on the size that we create. So there's a lot of mechanical pieces and technical analysis that's gonna take place in this front end part.
And is that in phase one, looking at the placement in other surrounding event centers and whether?
Correct. Yeah, so we're going to do an evaluation of what the market demand is for event space within, I believe it's a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius to sort of see, is this destination oriented? Is it local provider, neighborhood serving, that type of thing. So we'll go through that whole process in that first phase.
Okay. And there's no breakup fee if we decide, yep, we're done. No more.
So I think what we would likely do is that if we get early on in the evaluation phase and it's like it's not happening, we'll come back and report to you sooner than later. We're not going to necessarily. It's really going to come down to like, is it really a strong performer or not? If it's really showing that it's not really going to be viable, we'll probably stop sooner than later.
Thank you.
Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a lot of the same questions as Councilmember had.
Marketing minds think
I
alike.
know, that's what I was just gonna say. This whole project seems to have come about before my time, living in the city and joining council. And so I just, for some background clarity, this is envisioned to be like a community center type thing?
No, it's an event center which would host weddings and social gatherings that would be leased out for the purposes of generating revenue for the foundation to fund ongoing programs.
For the foundation, but the city owns.
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, that's my only question, I guess, then. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Long.
Brooke, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
I am on the spot, so.
Okay, would you dare to hazard a guess as to what that might cost for going down the road? If you
So when they did this analysis about 12 years ago, just before I started working here, my understanding is that the building that they had envisioned was between $500,000 and $1 million. Whether that programming still makes sense today, don't know, but I would suggest that we're probably talking 7 figures and probably on the high side of 7 figures, depending upon how big a building we're talking. And, all of this has to do with placement, parking, impact of the historic resources on the site. So there's a lot of interstitial stuff that we have to work through to make sure that we're threading the needle properly.
Thank you for that response.
I think it's extremely appropriate the way that you've paced this out, because we do know that it may not happen, but we'd like to look into it, so I appreciate how this is staged. Great. Thank you so much. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 95 passes unanimously.
CR 96. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving a First Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the City of North Glen and the State of Colorado Office of the Alternate Defense Counsel regarding court-appointed counsel for persons who are indigent.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Jason Johnson, our municipal court supervisor, is here. Hello.
Good evening, City Council members and Madam Mayor. We are here tonight to discuss an amendment to extend the current IGA that we have with the Office of Alternative Defense Counsel, which is what we call the OADC. This was passed last May. Since then, we've had really good success with the OADC. We have a group of 10 lawyers now that provide a lot of diverse representation for our indigent defendants. And that initial IGA was due to expire at the end of this year. Granted, those services have not ceased, they've continued. We're just looking to extend that to the end of this year. And I'm ready for any questions if you have them.
Please open the vote. Thank you, Jason.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and CR 96 passes unanimously.
Councilmember Kondo?
Yes, I just want to compliment JJ on his very nice tie. I didn't have a question, but the yellow tie just stuck out for me, and I couldn't help but look at you all night.
Wow. Okay.
Is that a racy comment?
Unexpected.
I guess I might be getting myself in trouble.
That was unexpected. Okay, looking at the clock, we have a discussion item, public invited to be heard, and an executive session. So I know at the start of the evening, we talked to Brooke about possibly pushing a discussion item. Councilmember Guyer, can you advise us on timing of the executive session?
We believe that the executive session could be about 15 minutes. It really depends on the amount of questions. I think staff can get through it pretty quickly. But, you know, if council prefers, we can push both items to next week. And I can do some rearranging with the agenda, and you can go ahead and wrap up. Now, if you want to do land use and exec session item next week.
Okay, well, we have time.
It's up to you guys.
We have time to do one or the other.
Then I would recommend exec session.
Okay.
And
just
Brooke's
based on-
nodding at me.
Okay. Okay, that is also my recommendation. Does council feel okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Oh, Sarah.
Good to see your face. But we're
So good
gonna-
to see you.
We're gonna move on. Okay, public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Beth, would you like to share with us? Thank you. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker during this part, must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Please state your name and address and provide your comments.
My name is Beth McElry. I live at 11512 Gilpin Street. Councilmember Long, Councilmember Walker, I'm sorry. I am really sorry that you had to go through that. You have a God-given, constitutionally protected right to not engage in speech. And that was abridged. That was abridged through intimidation and bullying. And it was disgraceful. It was said in this meeting that the council should leave their biases and agendas at the door. Well, I'm sorry, I don't see that. And the reason I know that is because we've had 2 citizen requests. And these are not the first time that these have come up. For roads, for parks, for controlling homeless encampments, for police traffic control, for safety, for improvements in the general structure of the community. That's not what we see. What we see is a $34 million civic center. That was projected to be $18 million not more than a few years ago. That's $16 million that could have been spent on parks, on roads, on safety, on homeless encampments. And yet, it's not. And now, we're talking about an event center. I went to school at St. Louis University. It was a beautiful campus, absolutely gorgeous, in the middle of a ghetto. It's very stark when you go from have to have not. Those monies could have been spent on the community around, and that's where we're heading. We have these beautiful structures, and we have crumbling areas. Come live in my neighborhood. Come look at my neighborhood, and you can see the crumbling. And lastly, these meetings are not inviting for the residents because we spend too much time on presentations, proclamations, council communications. And by the time we get to the meat of everything, it's so late. Who possibly is going to stay up this late for these kinds of things? And there's very little discussion about the ordinances, the things that really matter, the things that affect people's lives. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Section 4.5G of the City of North Glen Home Rule Charter for negotiations regarding city-owned land at Section 36.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. The vote is open.
Councilmember Walker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I will close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
We will adjourn to the executive session. So we'll take a short break while Brandon breaks down all our equipment. Probably need to stretch.
Oh, yeah, thank you.